Yeah, for this elections period right now, 4 of us on it, right?
What's that?
The four that aren't up for re-election, or the only seats that aren't up right now are me, you, Stephen, and David, right?
Correct.
And then the other 5.
There's 5 up for
Yeah.
it.
Which 3 you're not going to return?
No, Mike is not coming back. Amy isn't coming back.
And what about Chris?
Chris is not coming back.
So there's 3 spots. And
Oh, yeah, but you still have to have
Yeah,
an
we'll stop
election.
to run for it, yeah.
You still have to have an election because you have
No, I get
9
that.
people running, I think.
Yeah.
Or 7 people, I don't know, 9 or 7 people running.
it'll be the first election in a while.
Yes, it will.
2 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Oh, no,
That was 2 years.
2 years ago, yeah.
Because last year there wasn't an election. And so they
But for 10 years before that.
Yeah.
were asking to do things.
I was meeting here.
Out of camera here.
There was talk about lowering the number of board members. Yes, I saw.
Oh, that's the insurance.
It's the difference is that.
Up to today?
No, this was up to last week.
Okay, that's, okay, so it's taken up to the other.
10-16.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, well, these are all-
Yeah, because this one, as we discussed,
I know the board does. I mean, you got.
I was saying that to Tony, I was like, man, it's such a blessing in disguise. I'm like,
Obviously,
could
so
you
it's-
imagine the days that it was an hour and a half before? That's crazy. Was she having
For
said
office.
the 40
we're, yeah, we're live. We're live.
That's when we were.
All right, we're going to get started at 7 o'clock. We're going to get started.
You guys say happy birthday to Bill first.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday!
Oh. Okay, roll call of officers, please.
All right, Tom?
Here.
Ed?
Here.
Dave?
Joe.
Mike?
Mike's excused.
Chris? Amy? Here. Stephen?
Here.
Bill? Russ?
Here.
Okay. We got it one.
Okay, approve the minutes of the previous meeting from September 21st, 2020.
I just have one correction on that where the, I think I put in here it was $500 for the signs. It was actually 1,500, not 5. No, I think 6. I put 600, but it's actually 1,500.
Where's that? Where?
It's on page 2, new business B1. Somebody asked about the code sign to replace on the beach. We thought it was approximately 600. I think Ed said, I don't know, something. We checked the invoice was 1,500 installed. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? It says attendance list attached, but in the minutes, there's like never the attachments to that, so.
What's that? The attendance list gets attached on the actual adopt the minutes as minutes.
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
Bill, and then Dave. Okay. Legal and administrative updates. Memorialized minutes made via emails and workshops and board's exception of Raquel Pasquale's resignation and appointing Russ to her unexpired term for the Board of Trustees. A motion?
So moved.
All right, all right. The board voted to approve the contract for the community management submitted by H&W Property Management of Metro New Jersey. Make a motion?
There's the agenda and stuff downstairs. I left the packages
So
on the
moved.
seat.
Stephen, I need a second.
Sorry.
Ed? Okay. Treasurer's report?
Okay, if anyone can hear me, I'll drop this down a little bit. Currently, for September 2020, we have a total cash position of $36,979.77. Operating account holds $14,520 of that, and reserve account holds $22,459 of that. Still a delinquency amount of about $14,904.
Make a motion.
Can I ask what the delinquency, it says 20, I don't know if I'm looking at something else, but it says $24,069.
That's,
That was the last.
that's the report, last report in August.
So it's actually gotten better.
Okay.
And that-
Why is the number so high?
The residents haven't paid their quarterly payments.
So is that, when you consider delinquencies, that's just from people who haven't paid?
Correct.
Okay,
That's
Thank
the only delinquency we would have,
okay,
is people not paying their dues.
gotcha.
Okay? I make a motion to accept it.
I have another question. So on here, it says, this is just an example, beach supplies, starting the year was 0. We budgeted for 400. Shouldn't that be a plus 100 because we still have 400?
No, because it stays in the general budget. It's an item, but if we don't spend the money, it just stays in the account. We don't specify it for beach supplies.
Right,
If
so
we have to break it down on our,
So it means there's $400 left to spend.
allocated towards
Okay,
beach
so
supplies.
when you're looking at the expense line item, like I explained to you in the email, when there's an expense item, if it's got a parenthesis on it, if it's a negative, that means we still have that much to spend in that line item. If it's got no parenthesis on it, that means we overspent for that line item.
Which is the reverse of what it was in August.
No.
Yeah, so if you pull up August,
It was still 0 in August.
no, in August it was 0, but the variance was plus 400. And if you go down line by line, August has pluses where September is minuses,
Where did you
and
get that? Where'd
where
you get
August
that
is
report?
minuses, September has pluses, so it's reversed.
Where is that report from?
I don't know, this was posted to the bulletin board. So it's the, period 1/1/20 to 8/10/20, and it's got the detail sheet.
Gentlemen, pardon me, sir, you just sat down in front of the camera, could you pull over left or right? I just got an email from Phil.
thank you.
I purposely slowed over here so I didn't see the camera.
We'll have to look at it afterwards. I'm not sure what you're
Well,
doing.
this is the
Let's
third,
just-
this will be my third request to ask that specific
Yeah,
question.
I also offered to sit down with you tonight to go over it. So if you want after the meeting, I will certainly sit down with you and go over it.
Can you pull it up, Dave?
What's
Because
it?
I'm not sure what you're looking at.
Well, we have the treasurer here, it's an open meeting, I don't know why I couldn't ask the treasurer a question.
You are, and that's probably just where a plus should be a minus. In reality, no money was spent on beach supplies this entire year.
And
So
my
it's-
issue isn't with the beach supplies, really, it's not, it's just in the differences between the August, what was published, and what was published in September, it's the reverse, so,
And again, I don't know what you're looking at, so
Well, it's,
really offered to sit down with you and.
Well, I mean, this is what I pulled off the Marlton Lake Schools Board, so I'm assuming that's the approved budget from August.
Well,
Anything,
again,
Are you guys bringing up on the laptops?
now is really not the time, I think it's better addressed after the meeting.
Isn't that what the meeting's for?
No, not to go over stuff line by line, because
Let's get into
it's
it.
No, I mean, it's just to talk about any
Do
problems.
you want to say copies? This is what I pulled down.
I got it. I have it right here. I have it right here. I'm looking right here. So what she's looking at is here on this item. Sure. This shows the negative format,
Right.
but here in August it shows the plus 400 in the variance. It's the way it's documented.
It's probably
It's just going to be.
That's what
Yeah, it's showing minus instead of a plus.
No.
Right, but it's just not that category, it's every single one going down. So if you look at the very bottom one, gas,
Yeah.
it looks
did we
like,
ever hear something?
as of September, we spent 445, 949. The actual yearly budget is 300.
Right.
And in August, it's a minus 145, which is correct, but in September, it's a plus
Yeah, because this doesn't
145.
have all the columns in it. I mean, it has the, because normally when these print out, they'll have, we take, got rid of it. It's got the multiple things.
Like this line item in August, it says 445, 300, and.
Right. They're all reversed.
Yeah.
This says plus 145.
So it's just
So what-
And if you look at your supplies in August, this is a plus 400, and now it's minus
I think it's
400.
just for, I mean, I don't look at the deltas, I look at the total motors and
Right.
compare
So
them.
we pull them two next to each other, it just keeps, it's flip-flopping, the whole thing, it's not just one line.
Right,
It
it's all-
appears to be a printing error.
It's
That's an easy Excel printing error that happens sometimes. I've seen that a few times. It inverses it. If you add it all together, it's,
Yeah, when I go through the treasure
should
report,
have.
I don't look at the deltas because I create my own deltas, and that should be a negative, is all that is.
Right.
Can I ask a question? And I apologize if you guys talk about this every month, I've just started coming the last couple of months. So if you say that like, if it's not used, it stays in that account. If at the end of the year, and let's just go with the beach to $400, it's not used, then where does it get moved to?
It stays
Does
in the
it stay in
general,
there for the following year?
it
like
stays in the
how does
general
that-
account. It's a general account.
Okay,
So what we do is Ed puts together a budget, okay, and a budget, and that's what he's doing now. Like our landscaping fees,
right,
all that stuff has to be budgeted.
right.
So we just can't say, oh, okay, you know, the landscaping fees are 10,000 and we only have 8,000, we're 2,000. So
Sure.
it's all budgeted, and that's what he's going to go over tonight with the budget.
Okay,
but that's not like, for example, beach supplies. It's not that 400 sits in its own account. It's
No.
the roll-up.
oh, that's exactly what I was going to say, thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, so that just, the beach supplies, if there's
Right.
an overrun,
Got
they
it.
offset. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the audit will be done next year and this year.
Right. Okay.
Can the audit be shared, posted to the website or Facebook?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Can we just get a copy of it?
Get a copy of what?
No.
According to the regulations, that's supposed to be provided to the residents.
Right. If the resident requests to see it, they are more than welcome to see it.
So we can get a copy of it whenever we want.
It's up to the board. Right now, the board policy is you can review it at my office. But
The
you
board,
can't.
was that a bylaw? Because I didn't see that in the bylaws.
It's a policy that the board sets. So previous boards set that policy for all contracts and audits. So if the board wants to change that policy, they can change that policy.
So
But
if we're,
I'd rather not have our audit out into the general public. You understand what I'm saying? If you'd like to look at it, you can look at it.
and that's fine. So-
Because my name is on the bottom of that. I had to sign that audit from the account.
So, I mean, if everything
It's,
is clear
listen,
and good,
I'm-
then we shouldn't have any problems.
I'm not an accountant, okay? I'm not an accountant. We pay somebody to do our audit, okay? And he's certified in the state of New Jersey. So he fills it out, he signs it. It also goes to Eastham Township, because Eastham Township backs our loan.
I'm not questioning, all I'm wondering is why people are not able to get copies of things. It doesn't, I don't understand.
Again, the policy can change.
So
I'm sorry,
if
can you
there's-
pause for a second? I can't, I have partial hearing loss. I can't understand what's going on with whatever noise is going on.
What's going on over there?
I'm in 2 meetings, sorry.
No, that's not okay, sorry.
Sorry, I'm in 2 board meetings at the
Can
same
we
time.
possibly bring the audit to the meeting so that we can look at
So
it?
that like who wants to see it, like I agree, I don't think it should be publicized for the whole world to see, but if
I'll be honest with you,
we pay our dues, we should be able to see an audit
if you looked at the audit, I'm sure you probably couldn't understand it as much as I can understand it. I'm not an accountant, okay?
I do have accountant friends that are.
Well, yeah, but it's for the Marlton Lakes. It's not for somebody to go give it to an
No,
accountant.
our we have
So-
friends that are accountants that live here in the lakes, that would probably like to
That's-
see it.
Well, we are Marlton Lakes, and
But
we're all residents
believe
of
me.
Marlton Lakes, and we all.
If you would like to see it, if you'd like to see a copy of it, the next board meeting, we'll have a copy of it here for you. How's that?
That's what I heard, because it'll
Right.
be simpler than just going through the rigmarole of making an appointment and then going to the guy's house.
I think the real issue is when we put together the Facebook page, we're just real careful about what goes up on there, because
That's
there's a lot of,
understandable, I
lot of
don't think
information.
anybody has an issue with that.
yeah, so, I mean, I'm the one that posts all that stuff,
Yeah.
and it always, like, these minutes already are earmarked to get posted on tomorrow's, on the Facebook page tomorrow, so they
Well,
never
it's
get.
one thing to put the minutes on the Facebook page, it's another thing to put an audit on the Facebook page.
Yes, agreed.
If we could all just, whoever comes to the meeting, if they want to see it, then they can see it, and then any, questions or concerns that we might have for the following meeting, it would be able to get resolved.
Yeah, agreed.
If you can understand it, God bless you.
Okay, that's great.
Well,
And something else too for the
then
minutes is,
underestimate
it's
Carol.
helpful to have that,
One person at a time.
Please.
it's helpful to have the minutes prior to the next meeting. So like the September meetings can be published as a draft, and then the final can be approved. And that way, anybody who has any questions about maybe what would have happened or what's coming up, they can address it possibly prior to the meeting, rather than having to come here and address it here.
So when something gets posted on that Facebook page, it's agreed, if the board doesn't have a problem with that, I don't personally have a problem with it, but I don't want to throw something out there that hasn't been agreed upon.
No, I understand, but I guess that's just my request, would be to post them as a draft, so everyone has an opportunity to review them prior to the next meeting.
But the problem I have with that is if we post something as a draft, and then we come to the meeting like we did tonight, and we change the minutes because of an error in it, someone's going to sit here and say, "Oh, you're trying to hide something," because I got a copy of it right here that says this is what it's.
Well, no, I disagree, because then you would post the approved minutes that next day on
Right,
the meeting.
But it has, whatever, it's up to the board. I'm just one vote, so if they decide to put it up there as a draft, then they'll put it up there as a draft. Okay, can we get on with the budget, Ed? We got sidetracked here.
It's multi-tasking.
Yes,
I
see,
am.
multitask.
Doing several things at once. I know we've talking about the budget, we've talked about the budget actually for the last several meetings. It's come down, this is basically about the dues increase. There is a proposed budget in the minutes today, or in the packet today. I can answer as many questions as possible along with Jackie's help and other board members' help. Basically, it's coming down to the fact that we are running low on money, and it comes down to that, the dues increase to $600 per household annually. Obviously not for the 69 and older, that will be 85% of that 600. The big ticket items are what they have been for several years now. About 73% of our budget is the dam loan repayment, insurance, treatment of the lake, and fees for paying the management company to run everything. So, dam loan repayment itself is the biggest chunk. It's about 32% of our overall budget. Insurance is about another 15%. Lake treatment's another 14%. Management is about 12%. So that's about 73%, a little bit over that. So, as I've brought up before, the big problem is we will eventually run out of money to be able to do stuff as things increase in cost. I know Ross brought up when he was not a board member for that since we haven't raised the dues in over 10 years, but we did lower them, or raise them over 10 years, that's about what inflation would be. about $590 some actually to use.
It's like $595.
It was
It was within $10 is what inflation from 10 years ago when it was last adjusted to today is what value of what $500 10 years ago is today is $594.84. So, or within a couple pennies. So it's just, this isn't raising to, because we have new expenses, this is raising to keep the water at the same level.
Right, and as I've used the example before, you know, if you have a household and your income is about $176,000, which is what about ours is when you add up all the dues, including the 65 and older homes and all the other homes. If we collect all of it, which we don't always collect all of it, as you can see, there's delinquency amounts, then that's about what your household income would be. So when you look at all the things that a household income has to pay for in the expenses, which includes the building we're in right now, the beaches, the boathouse over there, the common areas in their collectiveness, and which includes the wedge of ground that goes that way along Swan. There's the ground that these buildings sit on, the basketball courts, the tennis courts, the playgrounds, and the boat rack areas, which are all encompassing in the common area. So our common areas are basically that, which include two buildings. This one, of course, is like a house. Not that people live in it, but it is a home, it is a house. You got the boathouse as in the other structure, and all the things that go into that. So if you imagine that's what your income would be, your expenses are getting higher and higher to pay for the upkeep, the going on, the operation of that common area, that household. If you want to see it the way I'm seeing, trying to explain it by analogy. Again, I wrote up the budget based on what I think and based on not what I think, but based on historical from 2019, what we've spent in 2020 so far. 2020, of course, is a strange year. We did not spend a lot, obviously, on lifeguards, or nothing on lifeguards, but that was due to COVID. That's a fluke. I am anticipating, but that's me anticipating, again, that's where my opinion comes in. Who knows what COVID would be like by May? I don't know, and I can't answer that question, so I assumed we would have lifeguards. So I assumed it into the budget for the 600 hours. I assumed things would pretty much operate they did in 2019, but also with 2020 expenses, not including the stuff that we didn't pay for, like lifeguards and beach supplies and other stuff that we normally would have had in our budget. So I did 2019 as well as 2020. Plus, that's my term I've been on for 19 and 20. So that's what I knew when I saw the billing, when I signed the checks and look at the checks and go over the stuff with the management company. So you can take a look at the budget if there's any questions or if you have any general questions. Okay, well, ready.
It looks like the management fee, so I guess the new company is right about this, just a little bit
It's
more.
about $900 more per year. Yep.
I'm sorry.
About $900 more per year.
And it looks like the insurance went up over $3,000. The copying and the office expense, why is that going up over $3,000?
Because every time that you send out letters that you get in the mail,
Yeah.
we have to pay for that. We have to pay for the mailing, the postage. Everything has to be paid for. We have to pay per copy for each copy.
Right.
And we also have an election coming up and a budget that, because of COVID, is going to have to be mailed out.
So is that a big chunk of why it's going up $3,000 because of the election?
Well, because
Or is there
everything,
copying and office expenses?
well, everything is going up, not just
And just to give you a rule of thumb, here it's about $400 to $500 for a mailer, each mailer.
each mail.
And we've had a lot more mail, a lot more correspondence with the community this year due to
We would
COVID.
love to go.
Listen,
Due to not having the
I
meetings,
think
having
the
everybody
community's
here.
happy, and I mean, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but, and hence the fact that's why I'm starting to come to the meetings, is that because, you know, we want to be, you know, hear more and be more involved and to get a better understanding of what's
We would like to go 100% digital through emails and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but not everybody does it.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackie has an email blast, and how many residents? Not even, I don't even think half are,
It's about 140.
about
It's a
140
Hallmark resident.
Really?
out of 375 homes.
And even setting up the Facebook page, I asked 3 questions, and you would be stunned at how many people went, Matt, I just want to join. And I asked for email just for that reason, so we could complete a list.
Right.
I mean,
I was
so
stunning.
it's something that has to be done because we want to get it out to all the residents.
Yes.
So if it was up to us,
I'm not against it, I was just trying to
No,
avoid big jump.
we will, but everything goes up.
Yeah.
The cost of paper, the cost of envelopes,
The postage and copying costs, the rate remain the same
Same.
each year, it's just the amount.
it's the amount.
So it's about, 15 cents per copy and, 50 cents for your stamp per.
So-
Right.
when it
Can
comes out.
I ask you a question? Why did you use the 2019 budget, not the 2020?
Because we're working on the
Because we're still-
2019.
So
We never approved the 2020 budget. We're working off the 2019 budget.
And when I say that, I'm not working so much from a budgeted amount from 19, but actuals. So the year to date, if I have any year to date from 19, it's because I didn't have a good correspondence to a number in 2020. But for most of those numbers in 2020, I've used basically take what we have spent already and multiplied how much, basically a burn rate, how much we would probably spend going out to the rest of the year. So if we had 3 months left, I added 3 months at that burn rate to add it on to the rest of the year. That's just an example of some of the line items that I did to help make it more explainable without the numbers for the entire year there, because we're still in 2020 and we didn't have a proposed budget for 2020, we had the 19 budget. But I used actuals for most of these things.
Yeah, but I don't have that.
Ed, quick question, can we do like an opt-out kind of a thing from a mailing? Because I really don't, I would prefer to have my documents via email. So that would probably be half, and then we could cut that number down to half.
I agree.
So like, I would chalk out $2,000 or so dollars.
But then we would have to go to every resident or residents and ask them to opt out. You understand?
But that would be good.
Oh,
When you say money, I think.
But I agree, but trying to get people to do that, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
And then-
I'm the one that kind of pushed things through for the new management company. And one of the things I discussed was the new management company send out a census form, if you will. As they do, every year for the badges, so-and-so lives here, so-and-so, you get 4 badges. Well, from this upcoming census questionnaire, there's going to be an email address. And we're going digital, whether people like it or not. It's just, and I don't mean to be a pain in the ass about it, but the costs are very high.
I think most people would prefer not to get mail.
But then you have some seniors who don't.
And that's fine though.
That-
If it's
that's
like
what
40 or
opt-out
50.
is.
And I understand that, but then you also have some residents who just, they get it, they look at it and go, yeah, okay, I'll just keep getting it in the mail.
Well, what's the harm?
I agree. Listen, if we could do that, like Dave says, we're starting in January, we're starting with a new management company. So we're probably gonna have, I think, one of our meetings, we're gonna have her here.
Yes, she already agreed to that.
She
So meet and greet.
agreed to like a meet and greet so that, she can talk and whatever, the lady who runs it. So that, like Dave said, if we put out a form, send it out to everybody, and if you put down if you wanna opt out, you opt out. So that means that you'll get no mailings, you'll just get everything digitally through the emails. So I don't have a problem with that.
I can give an example of copying and postage budget line item. In last 2019, we budgeted for about $1,350. We spent $1,232.64. Now keep that $1,232.64 was our whole 2019 copying and
Right.
postage expense.
Yeah.
We had already exceeded that. We were at $1,517.79 by around the end of April.
Well, I'm sure with all the COVID stuff.
Because of all the
there's so
mailing,
many mailings and
So
stuff.
it's not unusual that it's higher by now too.
Remember back in the good old days when you used to shove stuff in people's mailboxes and we didn't have to pay 55 cents a stamp to go to 374
Right.
houses?
Unless the post office caught you and then charged you for the postage.
Right.
Because
We stopped that because they were saying it's a federal offense to touch people's mailboxes, so we
Yeah.
stopped doing that.
We used to have the Pine Press.
We still can't have a pine press, and now we're
I love
having
mine.
a digital pine press.
Oh.
Why can't we have a newsletter?
I agree.
You'd have to have somebody put it together.
The
We have-
three
we
people
have-
that volunteered to do it, they did it for a month and then they never did it again.
Okay, so it's a new day, maybe new year, whatever, we can try something new.
Well,
I would love for somebody to start.
Okay.
I love that one.
is there any questions on the budgets for Ed?
Oh, back to what we were talking about with the copies,
it wasn't broken out previously, now they're breaking it out.
Yeah, but now.
So it was
look
rolled
at
up into a higher line.
2019
Even
wasn't
so,
a line item.
now we're at an extra $4,000
No, that's
budgeted
postage.
for postage and copying.
It's not an extra 4,000, it's an extra.
No, so that's almost $6,000 for postage and budgeting. For
And then
postage.
in
For
2000,
postage and
It
office.
has printing. If that includes printing,
no, 2019, it says we spent $13.50 for postage and copying, and then proposed in 2021,
Right, but
it's
also-
over 6,200.
that also includes the cost of the envelopes, because we have to get them printed. So there's a cost involved there too.
But that's that's $5,000 increase.
From 2019. We don't know what the increase was from 2020 because the budget was never adopted.
You know what our expenses were for 20? How much did we spend in 20?
We don't know.
30.
I
Well,
mean,
so far, we're at
we don't know what the budgeted number was in 2020, so.
But we know our
Every time
actual.
you post something out, it's $205 to literally mail something.
Right.
So that's,
And you gotta pay for, envelopes.
Yeah,
Don't
but
forget the
we
envelopes.
get somebody to donate this stuff.
So do we get charged?
How much do we get charged per copy?
15 cents.
How much would it be Staples, I wonder?
Staples is out of business. You gonna drive all the way to Marlton?
For a little while.
I would, to save our,
Staples is 15 cents also, but
Right.
I'm just wondering if we're paying the person that's copying an extra money, because that's,
It's 15 cents a copy. I supply the copier, I supply the toner, I supply the paper. I supply the labor to do it. So it is what it is.
that's a lot of money.
Well, then get volunteers to do it. That'll last about a minute.
I would volunteer to do it.
Wow, that's mean.
I honestly, you guys, I have no problem. I would happily volunteer to make up mailings. And I mean that wholeheartedly, I wouldn't mind.
I would love to. I think that we have a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of resources that are not tapped in because we have, if there's a huge line in the sand, and it's that side and this side, and
Well,
sitting here on this side, I'm
Okay.
very uncomfortable,
stop.
and I
Stop.
don't know why.
Stop. Why are you uncomfortable?
I feel like every response is angry and
We're
rolling
being,
your eyes.
I'm not rolling my eyes. Do you know, you're sitting there, okay? This board, over the last 6 months, has put in more time than you really know what's going on. We spent days figuring out what to do about the beach. And I don't get 1 red cent, not 1 dime to do this. I give up. These people all give up their time. They give up their time.
This consumed our life.
This, constant emails. I just emails in the last 2 months, I have almost 600 emails from this board.
Go easy.
Just on stuff that goes on.
I have them all saved if you like.
600, at least 600 emails with board stuff, something that goes wrong, or something that has to be addressed, or something. Do you think that I don't like you over there? I don't even know you. I'm here as a volunteer. Volunteer. What's the question? She says we drew. She's saying that we drew a line in the sand. There is no line in the sand. There is no line in the sand here.
I believe residents have a right to ask whatever questions
I do
they
too.
want to ask.
I do too.
But they're not getting that message. They're getting a message that they're annoying us.
They're not. We're asking every question that they've asked.
But it's how you answer the matter.
So-
So is that getting your point?
That's true, Steve.
So to answer the
Not
question,
only how you answer it, it's the lack of answer. So the
Yeah,
community
it's
wanted
both.
to know about why we couldn't open the beach, and all we got was 1 letter. The community wanted to know who the board members were, and we were refused that information.
no, I put that up on the Facebook
Listen,
page.
that was months after we've been asking, and that's all we want to know. If we're in a partnership, we're here to work together. If we can help alleviate some of the burden and the 600 emails, we're happy to.
Okay,
But
so-
you need to open up the
But-
information.
This is a a perfect example. 1, 2, 3, 4 people out of 370 homes. Nobody cares.
I don't know if I would come back, I feel very uncomfortable.
No. Listen, I joined in January. I've been busting my ass to be transparent about this, about the new management company, about the insurance, about everything. The Facebook page that Barb Puglia was wonderful and helped me set this thing up. I have been busting my ass to make this transparent. And all we hear are these bullshit lies that go around this neighborhood, and we know who it is. We know exactly who it is. I just got an anonymous letter in my mailbox telling me who's spreading lies. And
Who's what?
what?
What did you say? Who's what?
I said, I just got a letter in my mailbox telling me who is spreading the lies in this development. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired. It's the same person and the same bullshit, and we're up here all dedicating our time in. We live
I
here
know.
today.
Everything that Dave and Tom
You doubt
said is.
No, I said I know nothing about that.
Yes,
Or the
correct.
line or any
You
of
know,
that,
It's
so.
stunning.
Call to order, call to order. This is spinning out of control.
Yes, it is. Let me
One
just
person
answer.
at a time, please.
Let me answer the
Can I have
question on,
Let's recognize the person.
the September
I have a
16th,
name.
2020 year-to-date budget for copying and postage. I'll answer the question because I used the calculation to build it. I took that September amount that we had spent up to that point already, and I added another 3.5 months at that burn rate. This year, again, is an anomaly. We spent more. I assumed we would have to do that due to the possibility of COVID, although I didn't make that essential lifeguards because that would be zero. So assumption of COVID for communication, postage and copying. So that's why it went out like that. That's why that number is so big. That sounds like it was the main question that started anyway. That's why is that so high?
Well, I did a little figure and it looks like it's about, it costs about $250 to do one mailing.
That's
That's
if
just
it's
for the
only one
postage,
page.
that's for the postage.
Yeah. And that's if it's only one page. We try to put as many pages as we can in there, but it's 4 pages for one stamp. So
Yeah, so
if
that
we
would
go over the
give you,
4 pages, then it goes over to 50 cents.
that would give you, approximately 18 mailings with extra,
We got, again, we have to pay for the envelopes to be printed.
right.
So you gotta figure that cost in there too.
So I'm just giving you guys
That's
approximate
a postage is a
value.
portion of that amount, yes.
That'll give you a roundabout value, you know, when the next management company comes in, you can gear it towards that, how much.
Well, we questioned them on their rate, and their rate is similar to other rates. Obviously, it's 50 cents per stamp. and
So if I may,
about 50 cents per copy.
just for a second, it's kind of troubling to me when we had 4 people show up and one says she's so uncomfortable that she doesn't think she's going to come back. That's not a good thing. So we get a lot of questions. Everything that Tom said, Dave said, I agree with. You guys work really hard. Nobody makes any money. All that's well and good. But there's a vast difference, and I hope in the new year we switch a paradigm to welcome questions as opposed to resentment. Because I think what you're picking up is your questions are resented. It's a pretty big switch to say, now your questions are welcome, even though we've done all the stuff they said we've done. And I think that can lead to a partnership. Because you've already offered to save us some money. So that's kind of important, underneath all the detail.
No, I was just, thank you for saying that. I was going to say that it's just so sad to me that there is this much animosity on your side, and I don't want to say our side. I meant, like, you know, the neighbors, like, we appreciate all the work you guys do. Obviously, we have no idea what you do because we're not at your gatherings and your meetings. You know, and I don't know what you're talking about and all the neighbors. I only know, you know, the people that I talk to. And we're just coming from a place of, we love our neighborhood and we don't want it, or at least I don't want this animosity. It feels like this has become what our United States has become. And that's not the way it should be. You know, so like when I said I'll offer to do the mail, whatever it is, like there shouldn't be this. It should be all of us working together
both
for our
sides-
neighborhood.
Both sides created the animosity. I would say that's a fair statement. So both sides can now create harmony. There's nothing to stop us.
Unity.
Nothing to stop us at all. Especially since we've got a whole new ballgame.
And by seeing 4 people here, that's 4 people that care, plus the people online. And we're also in a little bit of a different situation because we shifted from last week, so people might not have been able to plan
Right.
ahead.
Yeah.
So there is that, right?
There was a
It's
lot of
having
people
that
here
understanding.
last week.
I think a big
And
part
it's
of it
raining,
is,
it's already dead, people don't want to.
I think a big part of it is, and I've echoed these both on both sides, just my first day up here. I think a lot of it is just really intently listening and giving opportunities for everyone to finish kind of their thought. I think is going to go a long way, and I think that's some things we can all work on both sides. Is trying to kind of keep that and make sure that we're really understanding what we're saying. And if we don't know the answer, saying, okay, you know what, I'll take a note. We'll look into it and we'll figure that out and then try to come up with an answer.
Underneath that though, Russ, is again the difference between welcoming and hostility. That's what creates the whole dynamic. We can change that. We can change it. Both sides.
Be half full, not half empty.
And I don't know that it's relevant how many people care. Like there are people that raise objections, that come out, and there are people that I don't know. I've never seen numbers on how many people don't care. Just leave me alone. I won't hear from you. I might not pay my dues on time, but I don't care. I don't know if that's relevant. What's relevant is the people who do care. They're going to lead the community.
Thank you.
We're on the board because we care.
Yes.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't think you want to be up there for your own health.
And to move back up to posting as well.
Yeah.
Just the other item with the question of posting as well is there are some residents that might not live here, right? They might be renting, and they might live in Florida or somewhere else and renting out, and so we can't hand deliver to them. So I think there's always going to be that aspect that we need to account for. But I do agree that I think it's something that the board should look into, and I'll take an action to make sure that we discuss what the options are moving forward to ensure that if we can do something to like an opt-in type solution for people to opt into reducing costs into electronic only with certain agreements, right? We need to make sure that, God forbid, somebody decides they want to leave and they move out and a new resident moves in, that we don't lose them in the shuffle. So there's going to be that aspect.
Or whatever the avenue is to saving our
Yeah.
budget some money, whether it's
100%.
postage or whatever.
Believe me, we have kicked every rock to reduce the cost as much as possible. I mean, Ed has spent numerous days with Jackie going over the budget to find where we could cut corners. And there's not much to cut because everything's going up. I mean, if you look, I think on the budget, there's no proposal for sand on the beaches.
We desperately need that.
Well, but see, these are things that we feel that can be cut. And I agree, we need sand. I don't think there's anything in the budget for fish in the lake. So, we're trying to do the best we can to reduce the cost for everybody. But like everything else, the insurance goes up, the landscaping fees go up, and because we lowered the fees from 600 to 500, it kind of hurt. And then we also had some major things that had to be repaired. The heater went in this building 2 years ago.
What happened with the electricity last Monday when we were all here?
There was a mix up in the accounts. They got messed up.
The
But
payment
this is part of the problem.
wait, I'm just
No,
telling you
can
now.
I finish my thought? I'm sorry. Can I just
You
finish
asked a
my-
question, I was going to
I know,
answer
but
it.
I want to finish my thought. I apologize. This is part of the problem, I think, from this side, and I don't want to say a line in the sand, but when we ask a question and we don't get an answer. And I'm not just saying, Jack, I'm just using that because it just happened right this second. Oh, there's a problem. Well, what was the problem?
He's going to explain the problem to you.
Okay, relax. I didn't know. I needed to finish my thought.
Okay.
This is part of the problem, like you were saying earlier. It's not what's said, it's how it's being said.
So right now, we have the clubhouse and the boathouse. They both have electrical service from Atlantic City Electric. And the bills that were being paid for both were being accredited to the boathouse account and not the clubhouse account. They're two different accounts. So they were being credited to the boathouse account. So then, Jackie had to call Atlantic City Electric and say, hey, wait. And they then said, oh, geez, and threw the money over into this account, and that's what caused
Has
that.
that ever happened
So
before?
there was no notice
Has that ever
given
happened
to
before?
us. You know how you get your bill, and it's a
Yeah,
little late,
sure.
and it's got the big thing on there, and
Especially
they
this
send
time
it,
of COVID.
and they
like,
send it in
there's no
yellow,
power.
and they send it in a yellow envelope, and oh my God, it's in a
Yeah.
yellow envelope, well, they didn't do that. So, the last bill that we got, there was a balance, a running balance, and we're always, we always tell people entering the bills, make sure you just pay the current bill, don't pay the, past due, make sure it's paid. Knowing that we paid it, so we keep on paying the current. Unfortunately, it was going to the boathouse. So they put a notice on the door here that somebody took off, that they were shutting down the electric, and that was just shut down that Monday. And the heater guy was here servicing the heater Friday before, and he was like, everything's fine. And he said, because I called him up right away, I'm like, did you do something? Because I figured I hadn't been here, and it was nice out, and normally, because I control the heat and air conditioning on my phone, and normally the day of the meeting, I'd be like, let me fix it, but it was so beautiful out that night. I figured, we come in, we open windows, we all nice, and then we get here, and then the electric went off, and I'm like, where the heck? We went and checked everything, we checked
We checked the panel,
breakers,
made sure the breakers were all.
because I thought, well, maybe you shut things off and then put it back on. Called the electric company, they're like, I don't know, we shut your power. We're like, how can we shut our power if you didn't give us any notice? I mean, when I will show you the bill. There is nothing on the bill saying that if you don't pay this tomorrow, it's going to be shut off. Nothing. And they just shut it off. And I'm
So
like,
was the
I
error
can't
of
do that.
Atlantic City Electric they made, was their mistake?
It was their mistake, yeah. It had nothing to do with us because we send a little thingy, from Atlantic Electric with the check. With the check number on it, but we pay the both of them together. So we'll send the two little pieces of paper with one check. So now, maybe a recommendation would be to just do separate checks for here and a separate check for over there.
So for all these times, it's never been a
No,
problem?
it's
and
never
all of a
been
sudden
a-
it's just an
it's-
issue?
No, they
It's
had us
never been a
not
problem.
paying from January
Because it always got credited to the.
over there. And it's like,
Oh, so they think you weren't paying for here since January?
yeah, so we weren't getting the bill for here.
Somebody looked at the boathouse.
It was when I tell you it was all screwed up, it was all screwed up. It took about an hour and a half on the phone with Atlantic Electric. Then they wanted to charge us for putting it back on. Oh no, that didn't happen. So then I had to come over here and turn off the big breaker because we were afraid if they put it back on, everything would blow up. So the breaker got turned off and they had it back on within minutes. I mean, it was
How did it
very.
get screwed up?
It's accounting. They're in there, probably in their
It's
accounting
just,
department.
What
whatever.
changed? Something must have changed.
Well, because if Jackie, when they send the bill in, you get two bills. You get one for the boathouse
Right.
and one for the clubhouse. So they're paying both bills
With one
at
check.
and with one check. So whoever picked it up probably picked up the boathouse and
that was
added it to the boathouse,
Yeah.
and the other bill just got probably disregarded. So that it was going on to the boathouse all the time instead of being, if they sent a check for $300 and it was 150 here and 150 at the boathouse, it was all going to the
When you got
boathouse.
the clubhouse bill, wasn't there always a back saying that you didn't charge last
Well,
month if it was from
Well,
January?
like I said, because we don't pay.
What's she saying?
And then they took
January.
they must have took a couple, I don't know, because I didn't do it. I don't do that part of my business. I have somebody that does it. And they must have had a couple in there, like every now and then. I don't know, but they took forever to get it all straightened out. So we got it now. It's all straightened out for right now.
But it wasn't any extra money.
No,
No,
And
no, it was ours. It was legitimately Marlton Lake's bills, but it just wasn't going to the right account.
I think Steven's question was, is that a newer thing that you started doing with the one check?
No.
What happened in January where all of a
Well,
sudden
it
they
might
went
have
from
been because
consistently
whoever
doing
was
it the
working at
right
Atlantic
way?
and it could be,
But going from consistently doing it one way.
It
all
also
of a
could
sudden
be-
100% from January.
Well, no, it
forward,
wasn't
consistently
100%. Like I
following.
said, there was some from
Okay.
January that might have got, I don't know, because I
Yeah.
was not involved in the
Sure.
protocol. All I know is I was getting screamed at.
you gotta realize too with COVID, it could have been that they've cut back where they don't have everybody in. So one person's doing all these bills now.
Well, I don't,
And it could,
again,
it's,
my big thing is, I don't know why they didn't do it. What, yeah,
There was.
so we had to get that credit transferred over to here. So, but I don't understand on the bill, and that's where, because I had that bill with me that night, and first thing I looked at out there, when the electric was off, I looked at the bill to see if it was a shut-off notice, and it wasn't.
It's just so weird, because if they're doing it from January, you're February, and
I know, but like I said, it
all those-
wasn't every month, so there was some months they weren't credited right.
So,
I was not involved in it.
especially with COVID, I mean, from what I heard, they're not turning any electric off at
It's
all.
only residential. It's only for residential, so it's not, we're considered commercial.
Well, somebody says that the snafu is COVID related. I'm getting something like an explanation. Without that, though, I don't know where the straw came from. I have a picture of a little functionary that when I say electric, pressing the wrong button. Other than that, I have nothing.
Right.
Well, there's not, I mean, what do you do? I mean, there,
Well, it'd be nice to
these-
know how it happened.
I mean-
I would love to go to Atlantic Electric and see if there's an actual person, but there's probably not. These envelopes get opened up, by a little machine. They get scanned
If
through.
I'm not mistaken, I think that bill gets sent to Belmar, to a processing center.
Yeah, and it's all electronic, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
however they're
so
picking
again,
it
what
up.
happened?
Well, probably, if it's all electronic, when they scan it,
It gets sent to Philadelphia.
that's right, it gets sent to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But I think we're all just making assumptions here. I think the question is, like, is there anything we can get just that recognizes that from Atlantic City Electric?
No, I mean, because it's straight down. So whether or not going forward with the new management company, you might want to mention it to them. They might
Jack,
want
are
to
you,
send two separate checks.
are you
know.
gonna sit down with the new management
Yeah.
company? So you guys are just
The
sitting
board
down
will,
with the new
the
management?
board will.
The
I
board.
have a list of things and a pile on my
Just
desk.
so this obviously, something like this doesn't happen again,
Well, my guess is that it's probably gonna go, e-pay.
Yeah, everything's gonna go, we're gonna try to, we're trying to get away from sending bills in. It's,
Yeah. So, and there's gonna be, with the new management company, there's gonna be a portal for each resident, so you can go in and check your balance. So it's gonna be a big change, for the positive.
Right, for like the people, so they know if there's dues or past and stuff like that, so they're,
Are we gonna be sending our payment into the management company?
I'm sorry?
Are we gonna be sending our association payment into the management
Um,
company?
Well, so there are a couple different ways it's gonna happen. You can pay with a credit card online, you can do ACH payment, there are a couple different ways you can pay,
yes.
which is beautiful.
It sounds better.
It is, it's great.
Well,
You have that ability now.
Yeah, but
We
we
can
have
do
to
it.
go to
Okay,
another
so my
company.
yeah,
No, you go for that.
Are we just gonna use mutual Omaha?
no,
CIT is very.
I don't think, no,
I don't know what they're using.
she's not with CIT. She's, I think it's TD Bank, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hold me to it, but there was only one management company that used Mutual of Omaha, and actually their office was in Margate.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will be switching banks, but it'll be the same process, it'll just be a different bank, that's.
So we'll log into TD Bank.
No, you'll log into,
The management.
the management company.
Yes.
I mean,
They have a cloud that
yeah,
everybody
we,
loves.
during the process with the management company, we sat down with 4 companies. And-
Five officially.
Yeah, officially 5. So we literally went over and we had probably 100 questions that we asked everybody. And we whittled it down to one management company. And I think hopefully we got the best one. I mean, we don't know because we won't know until she actually takes over. But, just another thing where we're trying to make everything as easy as possible for the residents with, making everything, switch everything over and doing things. But it's a process. Like Dave says, Dave has put numerous hours in with the management companies. Well, matter of fact, me and Dave both, we spent, with the 4 management companies, we literally took them and drove them around, showing them everything here that we had to do. And one was actually on a Saturday. We did it on a Saturday. I mean, we showed them everything. We took them inside the clubhouse and told them, you're going to be responsible for the rentals. And which I think, don't hold me to it, but I think all your rentals now will be done through the website.
Yeah.
So there'll actually be a calendar up there. So if you wanted, say if you wanted it next Saturday, you could actually see that it is already rented for that Saturday. So these are things that we've worked, you know.
We're jumping into the 21st
Yeah,
century.
we're going forward. We're not going back.
You're around the corner.
No, we're going forward.
It's already been
Is
said.
Yeah.
What was it about this management company out of the 5 that like stuck out to you guys, that made you guys say, this is the one?
Alright, so again, I was in charge of that. That was my kind of pet project.
Right.
Bill had landscaping, and each of us had different things that we're working on. I put it out to, I own a number of properties, so I can see, I'm gonna jump back to Jackie there, I can see how that payment got credited to the wrong account. It's happened to me. Anyway, I went through a lot, and we took proposals from all these different companies, and I came up with, again, probably about 100 questions, and we sat there and grilled each one of them, and then, you know, also took them for a ride and showed them everything. I've worked with a couple of those I do work with a couple of those management companies and other properties that I own. I work with Lori, the one that's coming in, HW, and I know she's really good because I've been working with her for 16 years. I own a property right behind Walmart, the industrial center, in West Berlin here. You drive right around it every time you go to Walmart. And so I've been working with Lori for a long time. And we did end up narrowing it down to 2 people. And what really kind of threw it for her was, quite frankly, she has a no BS attitude. It is what it is what it is. And another thing, she's actually a Laker. She lives in Medford Lake, so she is a Laker. So that's a nice thing. Plus, also, she's local. Her office is right in Medford. We didn't want to go with somebody down the shore because, you know, we need somebody here, we need them here now, and they have to understand our lifestyle. So one was in North Jersey, and they were horrifically expensive.
Well, yeah, their main office was in North Jersey.
Yeah.
But they have an office down in South Jersey, but their rate was double.
Yeah, it was
North
really-
Jersey rates.
Well,
exactly.
it was,
Yeah.
I guess it was good, but
New York.
it was double the rate that we got. I mean, it was astronomical.
So she had a lot of technical ability, but my vote for her, I relied heavily on Dave and Ed and the techie guys. My vote was pretty much based on, this might sound stupid, but it's what my vote was largely based on. She has a nice way about her. You don't hear that kind of language anymore. She had a very nice way about her, and I'm thinking, okay, well, that's going to make a big difference, provided she has the technical skills, and she seemed to have it. Or Dave and Ed and the rest of them wouldn't vote for it. So that's where my vote came from.
Sir, you had a question?
Was it a year contract, 3 years?
This is a,
3 years.
she has a
We
3-year,
monitored for 3 years.
she has a 3-year contract with it, but there is, and I'll be upfront with it, there is an option in there that she can opt out in 90 days.
So we gotta be careful and hide the crazy.
Yes.
When we were doing the interview,
The option is on her side to drop us.
We have both.
no, we're you. That's the problem. We
So-
are you guys.
Russ?
No, I mean, her contract, she can
Yes.
drop us.
Yes, yes, yes. So when we met,
Her.
when we met, I had told everybody before she came here, I was like, hide the crazy.
I would like to request that potentially for next meeting, we prepare a presentation of that management company and some of these details that people are interested in, just so that we can get back to the order that is the budget.
Not the
I'm sorry,
previous election.
No,
Okay.
not
Maybe
next
next
one.
one.
We'll do it
December
in
meeting.
December. We'll do it in December.
Just so that we can get back to the budget, it's been about an hour
That's
since
good.
they started.
December, I think we're gonna do the meet and greet.
This is very interesting, but I think it would be good if we maybe can summarize some of these benefits for the membership in December.
Yeah, we're gonna do a meet and greet, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Probably
and like, I
December.
want to answer your questions here, I truly do, because we've been working our tails off on all this stuff. And, you know, I know it doesn't look that way from the outside.
There's a mountain of items that we have been wanting
Huge.
to tackle, and that we have been shipping positive or negative, is because we have worked toward a greater level of transparency. And so as we're giving out more for you to absorb, you're coming back at us with these questions. We're going to get there, but we've got a mountain of things on our wish list. At the same time, there is a good majority of this board that's tired, that have personal lives that need tending to, and there's a lot of vacancies. So there's a tremendous amount of work for the people that have worked together on these things and that know the goals. That's going to have to orient and work with a whole new set of players. And honestly, you know, our neighborhood has run with a board for 8 years now, and it turns over, and every time it turns over, you have a new cast of characters, a new set of people with personalities, strengths, talents, insights, and sometimes they work really well together, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're diplomats who can communicate really well, and sometimes they're not. That's not their strength, you know. So we need grace, and we also need to give it, and it is it's a working together. But there's a mountain of work that has been done, but there's a lot of things that are incomplete that we're going to need both the community and this existing board and the new board coming in to continue to move forward. There is a lot of change on the horizon. And it is going to be good, but it's going to be hard, tiresome work for everybody. And we just need to be patient because it's a process that can't happen overnight. One board meeting may have an agenda, but there's so many things in between that we never even get to touch upon because one topic can be all-consuming for hours on end.
Can I just make a suggestion? Instead of you guys taking it all upon yourselves, at some of these meetings, why don't you ask for a subcommittee?
I asked,
That's an
even
agenda
the
that
last,
I'm here now.
even the last meeting, I even passed out, I think, a candidate form to you.
I know.
And a couple other people.
I'm representing others that are running.
I
just started
second
coming.
the third and fourth that, because I think we've got so many people in the
Take some
community who
weight
want
off your
information and want to help.
Are you
And
bound?
that's one of the items
Oh, Tracy, I'm sorry.
that we're talking
Oh, you're
about.
not spoke. You're in the car. Okay, yeah, I was like counting people, trying to get a hold of people, and there's a couple over on Marbell. I was trying to get them involved, and I think they're going to be involved. So it's really been.
Reinstituting committees is
Yeah,
absolutely
but
one of the goals because we need more people
But
that have time
the problem
and
is-
to commit.
And there's a lot of people who have busy lives, okay, who have kids. You know, you say, okay, I'm going to commit to a committee, and then, you know, not that I'm saying it happens, but people get busy with their lives. You know, if you have young kids today, you have to be a teacher, you have to be a mom, you have to be all kinds of crazy stuff. You don't have the time right now to volunteer. I wish that when I first moved here, we had a beach committee, we had a clubhouse committee. We had all because people had time to volunteer.
I think people
Well,
have time now too.
we're
have a great event committee.
I'm all for people volunteering,
Great.
but you have to get if things don't get done, and you guys did a wonderful job with your Halloween stuff. So
You did a phenomenal job.
I mean, you guys
I would
did.
just disagree with one thing Amy said. I don't think it's impossible or unlikely or a lot of hard work to change the dynamic of the way the board operates if we work with a partnership mentality. Then everything Tom is saying is so difficult, somehow magically becomes not so difficult based on that mentality. I really believe that.
Corinne took on a Halloween
She
event,
took out
and
all,
she had all these kids involved,
She
all
did a
the
great
kids
job.
helped her.
But you got all the support. How much support did you get financially for your effort?
she,
Tons of
her
support.
kids had 12, that was donated money,
Yeah,
because
we never even got to the
no,
community, we never
nobody
got past the
got,
board.
I
have money allocated. The reason why is with COVID, we can't sponsor.
You guys are gonna be sponsored, so you're just giving money.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of like sponsoring. You,
Just
it's,
because you give money doesn't mean you're gonna be involved in it.
Because the person that did sponsor, then if something would have happened with that person who donated the money, could have gotten sued.
I can say this, I can say just from being my first meeting sitting up here, I want to say, that's one of the things I think I'm really most excited about, is working with everybody up here, is to start to change that, right? Instead of it always being, well, we tried this 10 years ago, it didn't work, so we're not going to try it now, and now it's like, why not?
Let's try it.
Right?
Exactly.
We're here because we
Try
failed in the
again.
past. And I can say, just from emailing everybody, like there's a genuine desire there. And I think it's just figuring out the logistics, starting to try to break that
And I know
down.
that a lot of people can't come to these
Yeah.
meetings because of the time and because of their kids and their families. But that doesn't mean that it's not people in our neighborhood that aren't willing to volunteer during the day or,
There's a lot of people that aren't here today that actually help with the Halloween.
oh my God.
And we're working toward tapping into that and finding those people and setting up those work groups. It just takes time.
Oh,
That's all.
absolutely. But it would take some of that pressure off of you
Absolutely.
guys.
And we're looking forward to it.
You
Definitely.
know, speaking of the new board members, when is the election?
Well, that was gonna be,
Well,
we got, wait,
we're
wait,
gonna-
whoa,
we're gonna work on the budget. If you have any more budget questions,
But we have questions, in where it says new business, the open forum. So I have like 3 or 4 questions from residents, and that's one of them.
okay, so is there any more questions for Ed on the budget?
I just have one suggestion. So on some of these line items, I'm not 100% sure what would go into it, and some of the notes that you have here are super helpful. So just in making a decision, it's helpful for me to truly understand what, like, makes up those dollars. Not being an accountant and not wanting to be one.
It's in the packet.
So is this proposed new budget with the dues increase?
Yes, there's actually 2 of them here. There's 2 of them. There's one that says 2019,
Oh, 600 for you.
600, and then there's one that says 500. So if the budget doesn't get passed, that's what the budget would be without the raise.
Oh, God, I didn't even see that.
The $500 is what we would be going on.
Well, yes, if we don't get the $600 increase,
We don't have a budget.
we have to have a budget so you can vote it on the $500.
Okay, so there'll be an option to do yay or nay or whatever.
Did you say, Ed, what we miss is we go with the 500?
Yes.
I didn't hear it. Did you say
And I'll talk to that.
what are we not gonna have with the 500?
The budget, as we were sitting talking about how we tried to kick over rocks, try and change it, it's still, in the end, you got your boulders, and those boulders are what they are. The dam loan repayment cannot be changed. It is, it's 32% of it, it's the biggest line item by far, it's the big pole in the tent.
But what are we giving up?
Hold on, insurance, lake treatment, those are the insurance we did, Raquel, before she left, was one of the things that she did. We found that we were getting the best deal that we could find based on going out and looking for that. Lake treatment is 14% of the budget. Management fees, we went through, as Tom and Dave talked about and discussed. Jackie's retiring, so our new management company's coming into the fold anyway, and that was the time for us to interview and go through that, so that's 12% of our budget. As you start getting down to it, like the electrical we just discussed is about 1.8%. So the next line item that would be under management fees is lifeguards. It's 7 to 8%. And I don't want to be harpooned for this, but it's the first one that's high enough that can be cut, and the other ones above it cannot. I'm not saying I hope that or wish that or want that, but it is, and that's what could end up happening. But that won't even help if it's $500 a year. That won't help all of it anyway. There's other things. We're working around with how many lifeguards we can have. I put into this in the $600 budget, assuming that we may need 2 and 2, but it could come down that we need a minimum of 3, 1 and 1, and then someone to supervise.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it. With the $500 budget, I don't know how that's going to pan out.
Can for the lifeguards, and it's, under the 2019, it was 16.5, and now it's 24/7.
You also got to realize they get an automatic raise.
And we put the taxes in.
They-
taxes.
they
The new
include
ones have the
taxes.
taxes included, the other ones, the taxes are separate line items.
Yeah, when I did that, I included the new raise. I
New
included,
raise, well,
which is also, because we didn't have lifeguards this year, it would have been 11 per
11
year.
years.
So you're comparing it to 10 per year from
Yes.
19. So it's 12 per year now. And I incorporated, I took all the weekends going from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And then when we get to the point where we have them every day,
Yeah.
the hours for the weekdays, the hours for the weekends, added it all up to 12 per hour, and then came out with the total numbers. And then the big multiplier there, of course, is how many lifeguards do we need or use.
Right.
And when you multiply it by 4, it jumps more, doubles what we have only 2. If we need, because of COVID, if they end up requiring that of us, I don't know, I can't predict the future.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be yelled at later
Yeah.
if
No,
we're
no,
stuck in
no,
a similar
yeah.
situation because of that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's how I figured out the budget for the lifeguards, because that was one where we know a lot of the details, and that one can be changed by how many you're going to have, as opposed to these other big items, the 4 major big rocks
Right.
are removable.
Here's my cause. So if I understand right, with no dues increase, no lifeguards? Is that what you're saying?
That's a distinct possibility.
Well, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
More than a distinct possibility, it's a certain.
It is, because it's one of the first items that
That can be
dealt
cut.
with.
Yeah, okay.
There's other things that have to be dealt with as well.
For the 500, no increase, we lose the lifeguards, what else do we lose?
Things that need to be taken care of are going to have to be reduced. The amount that we put aside for dam maintenance, which that is one thing that shouldn't be reduced. Other things we've looked into, again, because we can't change the big line items, there's not much wiggle room. Landscaping was one of the things, and Bill pulled bids for us. I haven't seen the bids yet, but I was calculating based on what I was assuming through years before. But as I went and did some cost estimate relationships, I personally think that the number that I had in there before was too low. Now I think we put in there 11,350. Maybe that's the number in there, and I'm hoping we can keep that, even whether we have a $600 budget or a $500 budget. Because landscaping could end up becoming one of those items that moves up the list, and it has tended to do that, at least in 19 and from what I've seen in 20. So obviously we can reduce services in that area. That's that's where it's movable. Where obviously the reeds, the bulrushes, or the fragmenters, whoever you want to call them, they're up still.
Yeah.
Usually they get cut twice a year.
Yeah.
They only got cut once this year.
Because of the cost.
Actually,
Can we have volunteers help with that?
You could, but the problem is that you have to go down into the water to cut some of them. Because up on the top part, and then you have to go down into the water. So I don't know if anybody wants to be.
How much does that cost?
that's in
Everyone used per year, I believe, what were they? Jackie, they're about 1,300 per cut.
Yeah.
And then you also have
And then you gotta take them
you
away.
have to cart everything away.
Right.
Yeah,
So
it's
everything
part of
that
the
you
cost.
cut would have to be taken down to the township.
So the people that cut it, they don't remove it?
They
Yeah.
remove it. They cut it and
For
remove
cost.
it
And that's the cost, so
Yeah.
really.
for a cost.
When you bring 1,000 in the township yard, they might balk at you.
1,000.
But they can't, if it's commercial, they can't do that. They can't go to the township.
They can't go to the township.
Yeah, the commercial landscapers have.
Yeah, because if you go down to the township, and even if you were a resident, I have a gentleman that lives next door to me who's an electrician. He's a resident, but he has a commercial vehicle. They will not accept anything from him because
There's a limit, I think, on
No,
how
no,
much
he's
you're
a-
allowed to take.
he's a contractor.
No, I know, but as a resident, I think there's been a limit
Correct.
on how much you
Right.
can take.
Not really. They'll let you, they're pretty good down there. But if you come in with a commercial vehicle, they're not gonna let you come. He even showed his driver's license. He said, I'm sorry, you're a contractor. Contractors are not allowed to drop their stuff off here.
But if we brought all of the reads,
Right.
they'd give us a second look if as residents, even if we didn't have commercial vehicles, is what I think is what she's saying.
Big
There is a limit.
caravan.
They've given me a hard time, I took down
Maybe take
my
10
property.
Take
They
it.
gave me a hard time about that, thinking that I'm trying to sneak in as a tree company.
Really?
Even in a personal vehicle, they give me a hard time.
I've been down there several times,
So,
and believe me,
yeah.
some of the stuff that I've taken.
They're great, but sometimes they'll catch you.
Well, it depends on who's in the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree, I agree with that, yes. Because we go all the time.
Yeah, and then I never get a hard time.
Those are things we can look into.
You know, and also, couldn't the township, we put it out and have them come and do like a bulk pickup? I mean, it's twice a year, so it's not that often.
That's a question. I mean, more than likely, the township would probably charge us.
Well, the township would, you know, every year in the past, when we used to do the beach cleanups, and we would have big piles of stuff out there, and the township wouldn't pick that up. So we had to pay to get that taken out.
Noel, question?
Thank you. About the reed cutting, I don't know if y'all know this, but in the winter, we're really not supposed to cut the reeds because all the animals and the birds go in there to kind of keep warm and stuff. So I'm gonna ask the board not to cut the reeds because it is getting colder and I'm an animal lover and birds go in there and stuff like that, so we're really not supposed to cut them.
And then we have people that complain that they can't see the lake.
Yeah, they can't see the lake.
So then you got people that complain they can't see the lake because they have a lake view.
But you know, you can't,
But
you
then-
cannot please everybody,
Right,
but I'm asking them.
But then again, see, here it is again, not to draw a line in the sand, but we're the bad guys because we're not cutting, if you live on the lake and we don't cut them down, we're the bad guys because for the last 20 years, you've cut them down and now all of a sudden you're not cutting them down.
Actually, that's incorrect because they were not cut down.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, they were, absolutely.
No, they were not cut down. I can give you pictures that my husband took, that they were up in the
But
winter.
we've already
All of a
had,
sudden, the
we've
last
already
couple
had a
years,
complaint
they
from
cut.
somebody who didn't
All
have,
right, one complaint, but there's other people that want not.
You're staying up this year.
well, they're staying up this year because we can't afford to cover
That's not
them.
our bid, you're staying up.
They're staying up. We can't afford to cover them for now.
You probably have to take the lead on this.
Sorry?
You probably have to be the ones taking the lead on this.
Blame it on Noel.
No,
It's
not
on your
on you.
shoulders.
This is an example of the partnership we're talking about. We can butt heads, or we can develop a partnership.
We have several
and
people who are on this
maybe
side
everybody
now,
will get their.
could most likely be on this side in January, and that's good, I'm glad. The amount of people that put in nominations, I was very surprised as well as enlightened
Yes.
and then excited that we have those people coming in and coming out to join the board.
Well, people want to have a discussion, right? Just like this topic, okay? This side is this way, this side that way. So let's bring it up in meetings, we have a discussion about it, and then we have a vote. There's never any resident vote. And I mean, that's what we're here for. It's our community, your community, our community. And we
I agree
don't really get
100%. I've lived here over 30 years. This is our community, and it's a beautiful community. It's actually, people don't even know where it's at. It's hidden. It's a great place. I mean, you know, you have 3 nice lakes, your kids can swim in it, you can go canoeing, you can do a lot of things in it. It's, you know,
Ice skating.
ice skating, it's a ton of stuff to do. And the problem is, let's keep it the way it is. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep it so that it stays the way it always has been.
So I think what we just want is just a little more discussion and transparency. That's what we're asking for.
And you know what? I've been on the board since 2016. And in the last couple months, with the COVID and the lifeguards, there's been more people here than I've ever seen before. Usually there's 1 or 2 people at the board meetings.
It's
Right.
so
But you know that things happen for a reason.
And I agree. And I agree. But what I'm saying is that it's nice to have input because we're the only input now. We were the only input because we were sitting here saying, okay, I guess
Everybody else is here, we're the only ones to make the
correct.
decision.
There's nobody's here, so we're going to make the decision.
And also, I've only been on for less than 2 years. I started in January 2019, and I got to say, the difference in transparency and the amount of community involvement has escalated. I think it's a good thing. I think it's, we're trending better.
Yes.
You are, we all are.
Right.
Because we live here too.
Right.
I don't know how much you know about the reeds, and I'm just asking.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not sure about the reeds anymore.
Move on, make a motion, move on.
All right, is there any more?
$1,300 because we seem strapped for money.
Is there any?
And that's why that decision was made. not to cut.
That's why the decision was made not to cut them down.
Good.
Well,
Okay.
there's certain areas that we have to take them out because there's certain.
Good. Thank you for doing
And
that,
that's-
because I love my animals.
Well, we don't cut them all the way down to the ground either.
Well, you gotta,
Last year they did.
There's a,
all right,
There's also, I mean,
everybody's gotta
the
remember,
the
listen,
little,
guys.
the little songbirds is one
Okay.
thing, and hopefully they don't got the ones that are.
We love the birds.
Bigger
Is
animals.
there any more questions on the
That's
budget?
their dams. We gotta remember, we get inspected yearly, and there's certain things that we have to maintain.
Yes.
And there's certain things that we have to do to maintain them. And in some of the areas, we have to remove all the vegetation, and that has to be done as per the state.
And also
Because
we
we
done
spent
for
a lot of money
inspections.
on the dam, and to have it fail because of our lack of maintenance.
I'm not asking that.
Well, no, but there is some of the vegetation, and some of the phragmites have to be taken down in certain areas.
Yeah.
So I know we can't have, as much as, listen, I love them up because it keeps the geese off of there, and it keeps the geese from walking on there,
Me too.
and it keeps the kids from like getting too close to the water when they're fishing. I mean, I think they're great, except in certain areas where we can't have them, and that's where they have to come down. So, like the dam out front, that's gotta be maintained a little bit better. There's certain areas on here, this one gets inspected this year, and whatever the engineer recommends, that goes to the state, and we have to do it. So as much as we love seeing birds and whatever in certain areas, we can't do it.
Well, we'll call and ask the protocol for that.
And there's that, but there's also just, I'm just gonna
Instead of
kind of
just
put it up.
saying no,
No.
you can
Yeah,
ask.
but she's saying the loan, with the loan that we have to the dam, certain areas.
Yeah, but I want to know the rule. If I get the protocol, we cannot cut all of them down.
But there are also some residents as well that are very passionate and have very strong views about having them down as well, and I'm sure can cite a lot of things as well. So I mean, that's just the thing that you kind of, as Tom was mentioning, kind of you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't, right? You're going to be making somebody mad, and I understand both sides.
We have to end up doing the right thing.
Correct.
Figure out what the right thing is and do it.
Exactly. And so
I
that's where
just want to add one thing, and I can forget about that. I don't think it's realistic to think that everything's going to be the way it was. I think something you mentioned last time. You grew up here. We don't like to see things the way it was. Nothing is the way it was. We want to make the new as good or better, hopefully. And to try to keep this as the place time forgot, I think we're just going to be over budget all the time. It's got to be realistic.
Well, so if the reason to be cut down, maybe we can get information out, or I'm not sure how we would do that, put up sign up genius, we'll get 10 people to cut whatever needs to be cut, so we pass inspection.
But
That's
Jackie's
the
point
most important.
is a factor that maybe we didn't think about before she mentioned it. That's an important factor. So, a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of things also we have to do to protect people as well. If somebody gets bit by a snapping turtle that happens to be nesting in those reeds, and all of a sudden I have lawsuits, you have to talk about liability, oversight, waivers. I mean, those are all things we can consider, but I think there's nothing that's not on the table going forward.
All right, is there any more questions on the budget?
Is there anything beyond the landscaping, Ed, that is off the table with the $500?
Besides landscaping, lifeguards, and.
We've got lifeguards,
That's lifeguards. Landscaping's not off the table because it can't be. It would just be.
Well, that's going to be negotiated. That could be a partnership type item too. Anything else? With
They're the bigger items. The smaller stuff is just, it's an aggregate, enough little.
anything that are substantial?
Aggregates, because like I said, it's,
we're giving up with.
it's less
You
than
can't,
20.
the lake testing, if you give up the lake testing, you'll have vegetation in the lake.
No,
No, not treating, it's testing.
Oh, the testing.
We don't need
Oh,
to test, we
the
don't have
testing.
water.
This year was one of those, we didn't test
We didn't test the lake.
because.
Yeah,
we weren't
because of
allowed to open
COVID. Yes,
Yeah.
because of COVID.
So we took it out because assuming we're gonna have COVID again next summer, because the rate the state's going, we'll probably be closed forever.
Well,
But if we don't have lifeguards and we open up for swimming without the lifeguards, we have to test, so that number's gotta get put back in.
I mean, right now, everything is up in the air just with COVID. I mean, you don't know, hopefully that it'll calm down for next summer, that we can open the beaches, and you don't know because every time you turn on the TV, there's more and more, they talk about more and more cases, and
Yeah, we're in another spike.
I just,
There's another word that you don't hear much about, that's improvement. I have a pet peeve out here. I don't know if anybody notices it in front of the clubhouse. Every rain is a lake. And it would be nice in my lifetime if that could ever get regraded, but
You mean the parking lot out front?
the parking lot out front is an embarrassment. That would be an improvement.
Stephen, that's probably a $10,000 project.
Well, again,
I think that
With the
money could be well spent somewhere else
And there's also,
out in the parking lot.
to add into the budget discussion, one of the other reasons is what Stephen does bring up, an improvement. It's not that particular improvement he labeled, but the reserve study was done about 6 years ago. We really are on tap to have another one, but in that reserve study, the septic system over at the other beach, the beach house, is definitely up for being redone.
Yes.
And that's in the reserve study. It's something that should be done in
And
the
we're
next
looking,
couple of years.
you're looking
So,
at probably a
when I say there's a
$25,000.
reserve study, I'm usually thinking of that because that's one of the first big items. And then there's other stuff in
that would be under
study as well.
improvement.
That would definitely be an improvement under sort of.
Not to beat a dead horse, but that lake in front of the clubhouse is gonna cost so much money and it's impossible to do, we'll never do it in our lifetime. It's not gonna get better, it's gonna get worse. Just do
As
that.
well other things, yes.
It's gonna get,
Do we keep like a wish list of improvements that we like? I just out
The
of
reserve
curiosity.
study, that's the reserve study.
has it.
So in that is like things that if we had the money, we'd love to improve. Like the only reason why I'm asking is like,
I'll just give you just the last reserve study that was done
right,
to replace the tennis courts, okay? 2 tennis courts was $235,000.
so that wasn't to seal it or.
No.
No, that's to replace
That's the
it.
whole thing.
That's one of the things that was in the.
Wish list is that.
Well, no,
That was the engineer's wish list.
That's
And you have that there too.
But that's on the,
That asphalt.
that's on the
These guys
reserve.
replaced the net,
We-
which was
we
a
replaced
nice
it.
fix that could be done.
But then he also said that the septic system over on the other side, which is technically, it's not a septic system, it's a cesspool.
So the
It's
guy,
illegal in the state of New
so
Jersey.
this is my question, so the guy who makes the reserve study makes our wish list?
Well, he gives you, he does the reserve
It's a
study.
requirement.
It's a requirement.
Okay.
So,
The only reason why I was asking is because, like, a couple years ago, we put that overhang over on the boathouse. Like, who added that to the wish list? And why, I mean, that had to have been a couple grand, that could have gone to a new septic tank or, you know what I'm saying?
actually, I think
That,
we
that
ought
was in the reserve study,
Right.
not so much the overhang, but the roof of the
The
boathouse
roof.
that needed to be replaced. It was
Oh,
in the
the
reserve
roof,
study, and it was
I
done.
get it.
but that was, I think we just paid for materials on that, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
Ron Watson, he did all the work.
Yes, he did.
Oh,
We just
We
paid,
actually got it done for cheaper than if we were going to a contract.
yes, so we, it
You know
was,
what I mean? Like, it's one thing if we need, like, new, you know, when we had the new docks put in and
Which
stuff.
was also in the reserve study.
yes, and so these are things, and unfortunately, it was about 3-4 years ago, the heater went in this building. So the heater, we had the heater guy come in, and the guy said, I can't fix it. So we had to get it fixed, and while we were getting a heater in, we said, if we're doing that, we might as well add air conditioning. And it actually, I think it helped us because the rentals went up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Rentals went up. So, and if you look in the study,
It's a lot
If
nicer
you look-
here now.
there's another one, there's $4,000 for the clubhouse rental and beaches.
Right.
We lost that this year.
Yeah.
So you got, and if COVID, there's a $4,000 line item that's gonna
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah, but we also made money because we had no lifeguards, and that was like, unfortunately.
Well, we didn't make money.
We didn't make money.
make money, we didn't spend
We
it.
just
Just
spend
You
it.
just didn't spend
That's a
it.
big difference, yeah.
It's a non-profit, you never
Is
have
there-
a profit.
Is there,
It's what
is
you
there any
spend.
more questions on the budget?
As just a commentary on it, right, I came in and Jackie and others on the board could admit, I set a lot of questions. I wrote it up with tons and tons of red. I think honestly, my narrative on this, if we approve 500 a year, it's going to keep our nose above the water, but things are going to get more costly to repair down the road.
Right.
The 600, I think, is going to get us to
Closer
the
to
ability to do what we need to do and potentially still look at cost savings and things that we can then save some money to do some of the things we like as the nice to haves
Right.
and help us really flourish and move into the future in the way that we see this going and not trying to preserve, just trying to keep the past, try to see what we can do to make things better, and if we can save more money, build more reserves, things of that nature, great. If we can potentially give
Here's where I'm still
savings
hazy.
back.
That's where I'm still hazy though.
Just,
What happens if there's
just
a
to give you,
Points out
I'm
that you
sorry,
don't have to
Stephen was
see-
talking, I'm sorry, he was just in the middle of speaking, I just
I'm
wanted to
sorry.
give him an opportunity.
If we don't pass the increase, and something goes badly wrong, like septic, like whatever, these big ticket, what do?
we assess.
What
Be an assessment.
We have to assess people.
No, an additional assessment.
Right.
Well,
But
it's
there's
not a
also-
happy moment, is it?
No, but just to give you an idea, if we decide that we replace the septic, the cesspool over there, I can tell you what a residential engineering survey is, it's $1,800. So that's a commercial, so I'm sure that's going to be double the price. That's just an add-on on top of what we still have to pay. So it,
Which is 20 to 25.
yeah, well, that's for a residential, and if they start digging over there and they hit water,
It's gonna be a sand out there.
you're gonna have what they call a Michigan hump system out there, so you're gonna have a big hump,
Yeah, that's a big mound.
that's a big mound, so there's a ton of stuff, so that's why we're trying to move on and say, listen, do I wanna pay $600 a year? I don't, I'll pay it, but it's to make sure that we have the funds if anything goes wrong. And right
I'm
now-
not against it. I mean, I feel bad for the people who can't afford
Right,
it.
and I-
My heart breaks for them.
Yep.
I mean, I understand why it needs to be done. I mean, we did it for years prior and then it went back down.
You had a question?
I was just gonna ask if maybe there is a proposal of $50 extra a year instead of 100, it might
That
make
was-
things a little easier.
That was sent out to the board and the majority voted to vote for the $100 increase
Because-
this year.
The boards.
Yeah, because
And they
if,
voted.
I would hate to ask for
was considered.
$50 this year, and then ask for $50 again next year. It makes it look like we're always being,
Every year, gonna keep going on.
right, it looks like we're in your pocket all the time.
The prevailing sentiment, and I was the only one on the other side with where you were coming from,
Yeah.
was that based on the atmosphere we have going, nobody would trust us to not come up with another $50 for next year.
And then
So we bind
just-
our vote for what we can.
just say, God forbid, the septic did go over there, and then we had to assess you another $50.
Yeah.
Here they have in 2024 dollars, assuming that happens, or not the cleanup, but just to put in, is 37,740 based on the reserve study. Now,
37,000.
they are usually conservative in how they estimate, because they're estimating more involvement than we probably would do for a boathouse, where the main thing going out there is the bathrooms and the sinks.
Well, how about
Not being
this place? or-
This place, based on the reserve study, is several more years out,
Yeah, so-
but it is on the list.
That's actually cheaper than I thought it was.
If we
Hopefully.
wait to get that done, so we're doing ourselves a disservice if something really goes, like, if it's that bad.
Well, it's not bad, it's just that it's on the reserve study to be done,
Yeah.
okay, so
I said $2024, because that would be the end of that range for years.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It's in $2024, because that would be the end of that range for years, so we're talking 3 years out from about.
Oh, okay, all right. The way you
That's
guys
why
are
it's
talking,
so-
I
No,
was like.
we're just
The
saying,
next-
But you know, yeah.
if you lived here long enough, your septic system can go at any time. It has no time plan.
Please,
I've been here
I
15 years.
Because I had mine go. One day my yard was fine, the next day I had a lake in my backyard.
Same thing happened with my
$1,000
body,
a
sand
year.
on everybody.
Is there any more questions on the budget?
So the
Okay.
$15,000 for reserves, just to cover the reserve study items that the engineering firm has recommended. Is
Well,
that correct?
they're really there for any item that would fall into
Anything.
an improvement. It doesn't have to be just what's in the reserve study. That's just a good basis to start from.
So this bottom line here, 225, does not, or whichever one I'm looking at, does not include any rollover from this year that we may not spend.
No, it can't yet. Like, there's the bad debt expense that can get carried over for this year. That's a small amount of money, but whatever, when the audit is done in March, the accountant will tell us, here's how much it could be, and then tell us how we have to use it, whether operational or reserve. That's how it was done this year, so this year we had to wait till June for the reserve.
So
for
if
the
you had 10,000 left over from this year, it's possible that could be added to our reserves.
Yeah, sure.
But that's all part of the audit, so
Right.
Yes.
Where the
So I
rollover
can't-
from
correct.
this year goes to next year.
Correct. When that audit is
And the
done.
audit is required too, so we have to wait for them to tell us.
Right, so,
For him to
understand,
tell
but I
us.
just think that's part of the whole, people are like, well, wait a minute, what, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, where's that money, you know, and then the rumors go, and the letters, and
well,
if everybody can see it, then there's no issue.
and like I said, because Eastham Township backed our mortgage on the dam, we have to give them a copy of our audit every year. And I think Jackie gets started hounded around March.
No, they want it by March 30th.
They want it by March the 30th, and when do the audit get done this year, like June?
No, this year we did good.
Oh, this year?
Last year we did bad.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
you know, the accountant puts it together and Jackie sends them all the information. So there's not only one eye looking at it, there's actually two people looking at it. So, you know, it's done, we have to do it the way it's done, like the reserve, you know, we have to put money in reserve, so. Okay, no more questions on the budget? All right, we're going with, keep coming up, community events.
So how's it gonna be, I'm sorry, how is it going to be presented and voted on?
Well, that's
That's-
one of the questions.
That's one of the questions.
Yeah, that's under.
We're getting there.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
Amy?
okay.
I don't have much to report other than it was an epic Halloween thanks to a tremendous volunteer effort, largely run by Corinne, who chaired all of that. I am sending out emails made possible by donations, private donations from board members in lieu of the official budget items for events to go toward that. Christmas is in the works. I will be sending out an email to get an official work group ready for that. There's a couple of conversations that have been had on the side about that, but I'll be reaching out to volunteers officially through email with regard to that, as well as setting a date for a planning meeting to kind of sketch out 2021 events and ideas. So that's really it.
I have a friend who is in the fire department. I'm gonna try and talk to him find out when Santa's coming, so maybe we can coordinate that.
Great, yeah, I asked about that a while ago, and they didn't yet have it scheduled.
They didn't
It's
have-
probably sketched out by now.
Are they gonna do it, the fire?
When I talked to them, I was
Is that the-
inquiring
yes.
about the Halloween parade that they have.
No,
based
see,
on
Santa comes along in the fire truck.
Right.
at
Yeah, right,
Christmas.
right, but I thought that was
So,
next.
no, so what we're gonna try and do is try and coordinate the day that Santa comes with our Santa event here. So Santa can come here in the fire truck.
But did you not?
It's
It's
not,
fire.
it's
I
not,
did, it wasn't on the township schedule at the time, because I spoke to them back in like August.
Yeah.
To
I'm
plan
sure.
for October, and they told me that they would no longer be favoring us by doing the Halloween event, and I said, well, do you have the Christmas thing scheduled yet, just so that we could line up anything that we might be planning to coordinate it, as Tom said, and they did not yet have that on their schedule,
Oh,
so.
cool.
But I do have contacts, and I can, you know, if the planning committee decides that there's something they want to do that they want to coordinate it with that, then I will reach out and get that date. I do want to just clarify, during the last meeting, we had talked about how Marlton Lakes, forgive me, I'm tired. That we're not advertising any events as Marlton Lake Civic Association sponsored, and the monies from the budget that is typically allotted for them, it was decided amongst the board that if we gave funds toward that, it would give the impression that it was being sponsored. So, many generous board members at that time decided that we would privately fund some of these events, and generous donations were given privately by board members to start a little fund so that we can still engage the community. So if anyone is willing to contribute to that, they can email Marlton Lakes, and it will be filtered down to me, who's taking care of it right now. In the new year with the new management company, it might be a separate like that, and we'll look at it as a budgetary item perhaps again in the future. But for right now, with COVID and things like that, it has been decided that we're not going to tap into that budgeted item through events, but we're going to be handling it as residents of the community and not advertising it as Marlton Lake Civic Association sponsored. So, let me know if you want to contribute to that, but you will be some of you will be getting an email from me regarding planning for 2021 as well as Christmas events coming up. But there's nothing on the schedule just yet for that. That's it.
Thank you to the board members that have given.
You up there next with the questions?
I do, I have a couple. I have one from a person on Poplar, he's a math tutor, and he wants to know if he can post on our Facebook page, because he's involved with virtual learning and tutors for all levels, and he can be reached by email. The only reason I bring this up is, if we, on the Facebook page, if you wanted to put like resident ads or whatever it is, that's kind of what he's asking. Not offering to pay anything, but offering to,
Well,
let's put that up there.
What about the newsletter?
well,
What about the newsletter?
I would say that if he would like to put it on the Marlton bulletin boards, he should make a donation to the, we can make the money go to the, Amy's thing for Christmas and stuff like that. So because I have a problem with him putting it up on our bulletin board and making money off of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he's going to make a profit off of it.
Right.
So if we make a thing saying if you wanted to put it up there, it's a $25 donation fee that will go to Amy's.
Isn't this exactly like taking down an ad in the Pine Press?
Yeah.
We paid for the ad in the Pine Press.
So let's be careful because we're going to set a precedent here on this.
Right.
It was agreed upon when we did this Facebook page that it was specifically for board stuff to be, information to be disseminated to the public. So if we set this precedent, then there are going to be other people that want to put stuff up. Hold on, please. Barb Puglia has a page with 670 members. I mean, you know, he can throw it up on Barb's page, and I have no problem with somebody earning money. I've been a business owner for 30 years, so you know, I'm all for that, but we have to be careful.
Yeah, the bulletin board was set up for the board to disseminate information out related
Now,
to the business of the
if somebody wanted to
association.
set up,
The neighborhood page is more for that kind of thing.
yes. I mean, if somebody wanted to set up a Facebook page and then sell ads like that, that's up to you. I mean,
Might be the way to go.
but I would say, I would tell her to contact that person to contact Barb, and maybe she can put it up on.
You can do it yourself.
Well, I know it, yeah.
Yep.
That's up to Barb,
Yes.
because she's the admin, but
The
she's a
bulletin
wonderful
board
person.
is really for board business to go out, and that's why there's no commenting, because it's not really a place to engage, it's just, hey, we're giving you information so that you can.
But another device might be a moneymaker. You might be able to have some revenue come out.
Well, that would be something I think that the future board
It's
for
be
the
something
upcoming
That
years
that
should
would be something that the
discuss.
future
You know,
board could
maybe a
discuss.
virtual
Yeah,
kind of
that's all I'm
with
saying.
ads.
Okay.
Well, usually our ads always cover the
Yes,
cost of getting
right.
Pine Press printed or
Right.
whatever, so.
But for now, I think there
We
is
need
a
to go
vehicle,
digital
and it would
file.
be Barb Foglia's
Fine
page,
press. I
Marlton
agree.
Lakes.
Next.
I would
So-
look forward.
Next
The
question,
consensus on the board is to send them to the
Barb.
other Facebook.
yes.
Yep.
Gotcha, okay, got that. Alrighty, getting back to what we spoke about previously, I have a email from a resident who lives on the lake. Every year MLCA has to have the phragmites cut down according to our dam management plan. I just wanted to request that we don't do it in the spring. Last year, there were hardly any red-winged blackbirds because the phragmites were cut early in the spring, or maybe it was late winter. I was thinking if you cut them now, maybe they could start growing back by spring, and we'd all have the red-winged blackbirds again. So,
So we've already discussed that, we're not cutting it down.
so the Frank Bunnies we're not cutting, because we don't have any money.
No, we're not getting, they're not being cut down, we don't have the money to do it.
Russ, you need to start a side business, man.
Yeah,
My advice to my attorney, I don't comment at this time.
There you go. And that was, you had your mask on when you did it, right?
Yes.
The question that we had a question on, they wanted to know how the board vote was going to be conducted. I did answer this one, but I wanted to make sure that, you know, the board understands what we did, how I answered. We have done it by mail, and we are able to do it by mail as per New Jersey state law for the last, I don't know how many years. We actually only had an election about 1 or 2 since I've been on, because we never have enough people running for the board. So we can do mail votes and in person, and the problem was, since we can't do it in person because we have to limit the size of the meeting, then it should be obviously by mail. The problem was going to be, and we had discussed this, about how the nominees, since we have 9 nominees for 5 positions, how they're going to get their information out to the residents. Now, a couple of the nominees wrote very nice, long background information, which gives you, you know, an idea that this person is who you want to vote for or not vote for. Again, talking about mailers, I mean, if you do something like that, now you're up to 9, let me think, you got 9 people running for the 5 spots. So each person has at least a page front and back. That's 9 pages plus the ballot. So now we got a mail where it's costing us over $500.
I can also post that on.
yeah, we can post the.
Yeah, but not everybody, again, gets that
Understood.
information.
I'm just saying,
So
it
in order
helps.
to have a fair and balanced election, kind of like we did here in New Jersey, except I didn't get my mail ballot, we have to mail these to everybody so that everybody can vote. Whether we do, you can find the information on the Facebook page or in the website. That might be a way to do it, just put the people's name on there. We talked about doing a meet the candidate. We can't do it at night because time changes next week, so it gets dark early. So it would have to be done on a Saturday or a Sunday, which would be, you got the next couple of weeks coming up. And it would have to be done outside because we have to limit the amount of people inside. So, you know, I'm kind of throwing this out there because I need to get this mailer together for this week. It needs to get printed and stuffed this week to get out so that everybody has enough time to, you know, process the information. Yes, Amy?
In recent years, when there was actually elections, I recall that it was just names. There wasn't attachments about candidates' backgrounds and things like that, and I just had to pick, you know, luckily I knew some of the candidates and it was easy for me to pick. However, I know we're limiting some of the audience by doing some things digitally, but instead of doing a live, setting a day, hoping it's a nice day, candidate, if people have the capability to do like a 1-minute pre-recorded introduction, that could be posted digitally. People can, you know, and set a date so that people who have digital capabilities can look on and just watch those little meet the candidate videos. Again, it's limiting some because not everybody does that kind of thing, but then if we also do the mailer with just the names, we're still hitting everybody the old way, but also the new
Wow,
way.
that's expensive. I like that idea.
Well, the reason we didn't in the past, or they were able to have a presentation, which we did
Right.
at the meeting, and then if people wanted to wait and talk to the candidate, they could wait to do their vote until they spoke to them. So that's why it was done that way, because, I don't know if you remember, because we did have that one election that we had, the people were able to, you know, present themselves, and anybody that came to vote were able to vote.
Wasn't that?
So,
But we're limited now because of
correct.
this.
So I think what we're gonna, you know, what I'm hearing is, if that's available digitally, Dave, I mean, how you're that, I don't do Facebook, I don't believe in Facebook, but.
Yeah, I guess I should be able to do it. I mean, I can test it tomorrow. But the other way I was thinking actually was we could do a YouTube thing and post it, and everybody could sit there and watch from home and raise their hand and ask a question.
Well, even if they do a minute thing, like you said, and then I'm sure Russ can.
Here he is, Bubba, here he comes. Phil, what's the answer?
That's what I just did for the student elections for the high school. You wanna do it? Everybody can record it on their phone, they can send it to me, and we'll cut it up so this way has your name and that little video thing that goes with it.
Okay, cool.
I think that works a lot better than trying to put all that stuff in.
Sorry, I'm here to tell you.
That's gonna save a lot.
I mean, if you're not, and if you're not on the Facebook page or whatever, I mean, you'll.
If they want information, they can request it from us.
Correct.
We can give it to them, because all we do is, I don't retype anything, because, let me tell you, I've been in this business a long time, and way back when, and you get a typo in somebody's bio, and it doesn't, all of a sudden it's like they don't believe in this, but they actually do believe in this, you know.
Why can't the candidates just send us emails?
Well, because this is for the people, this is
For
the
everybody.
ballot going out, right? So now we have the ballot going out. Again, for cost-wise, the one, we gotta send an envelope, and we gotta send that one page. And if we give everybody, each candidate, their whole page, then we have like 11 pages in there, which is too expensive. So if Phil says we can do, you know, they can go on there and record their thing if they want, they don't have to. Then we could just put the link, but how do we do that? I mean, I would need to know, like, yesterday.
So, everybody can record it on their phone and send it directly to me. I will cut it up and put their name in and clean it. We have small children do this for like the elementary school when they do their treasure and stuff like that. It's very, very simple. It's a matter of you recording on your phone and then just have an email that they can send that to.
And
We're
make
gonna
sure
text.
nobody's naked in the background.
And make sure that
And you're gonna give me,
Hey, I wanna
you're
get
gonna
to
give me the
vote.
information. You're gonna give me the information to send it to you so that I can get a hold of the candidates and let them know what to do.
that would be best.
And then, how do the people access that?
How do we put it on the website? Can I have access to the website yet? So I
You
can
can have the website.
Can I just do it when you're ready?
You know what, I've been paying it monthly, and it's only through GoDaddy.
No, I don't want to do that. Let's make it cheaper.
What?
Then GoDaddy. How much can I GoDaddy?
I'm paying them $20 a month.
No, we'll skim off the top. We'll figure it out.
Well, quickly.
Yeah, well.
Like I said, this is, you know, we're, again, we're
So how
running
about
out
right
of
now,
time.
because we have to redo the whole website, how about right now, we put it in a video, we cut out really nice, we go on YouTube.
Okay,
And so we can send people a link.
okay.
I think
And
that.
we
Can
should
we
post
put it on
that-
YouTube, on this YouTube thing?
I think we need to make a YouTube that says Marlton links on it.
Yeah, agreed.
And not my personal one. So, and now we'll do that for you, and we'll make one that says Marlton links. And then
All right, good.
Plus, we can also cross-post that YouTube on Barb's
Oh, you
Facebook
should put it
page
everywhere.
and
Yeah,
MLCA
And then the
page.
mailer will just be one page with that link and
There you
pictures
go.
of names.
Beautiful.
It takes about 24 to 48 hours to get a new YouTube channel set up, and then we can set up an event that can be for later. We can get that URL that she can publish, and then when you're done cutting the video later, you can just upload it to that event, and it'll become live and then repeatable.
Right.
So
Great.
that way she can get a URL as soon as possible, within
Yeah.
48
So we
hours.
can get it in the-
Yeah.
I may not even host it on YouTube, I might host it on Drive, so this way people's public stuff isn't really out there.
Exactly, as long as she can have a link that she can advertise out
It's
there.
more likely better,
Yeah,
it's just.
So here's the thing.
Then we just post the
I'll
link.
support all these UALs and I'll do what I can to get on YouTube. But representing a portion of the older population, you're gonna be losing a lot of people. A lot of people aren't gonna be bothered with this. So again, my question, why can't the candidates present themselves on email? Because I don't think anybody in this community doesn't have access to
We
email.
would send a link out their email.
It would be like a one-page, two-paragraph reason why I want you on.
What I said was, they already had their candidate bio and why they want to be
He's
on.
going
I
to
can
do
put
that.
that on the website and direct them to the website if they need to see more, or they need more information about the candidate. So that's basically what they can do, right?
But they don't have the ability to send it out to the whole population?
That's the problem.
That's the
We
problem.
don't have everybody's email.
We don't have everybody's email address. That's what we're saying. there's 374 homes,
How many do you have?
and she has what, 154?
Between, I don't know, 140, 150.
Yeah.
Jackie, when you got people's emails, was that only when they send like that form when you
Correct.
send your
Right.
dues?
I can't put emails onto my, system unless I get your approval.
No, that's what I'm saying, that's
Right,
what
when
I'm
you get the-
asking.
You get the form, like, to get your beach tags, it
Right,
asks
right.
you down there for your
That's what I'm
email
saying.
address.
Is that where you got our
No,
emails
I
from?
get it
We
from
fill in-
when people sign up on the website for the email blast,
Right,
they sign up for it that way, because the information that we get from the beach tags is private, and we don't share that with anybody.
You guys should post that
but
on the
yeah,
bulletin board to remind people to do that. Some people might not realize they need to
That's
do
what I'm
that,
saying,
to
like,
get
maybe-
information.
maybe when
Crazy.
the new management, the company comes, when we get people to start filling out things, you know, when we
There-
send out
there-
the new thing, you have. to-
There's actually, already that's been set up, and
Okay.
not, didn't mean to interrupt you, I know where you're going with that. So what's gonna happen when everybody has their, direct, portal, to log on to your account, you have to sign in with your email address. So that's how they're gonna collect everybody's email
Yeah.
address, which is absolutely necessary.
Oh my God,
You
it's
know,
like.
So that's what we'll do with the candidates. Well, I think that's a very good idea. This way, we'll
Right.
make it a minute. Is that good enough? You don't want anything longer than that, right?
All right, so I will, you'll give me your information tomorrow, so I'll send it out to the candidates, so that they can send their
Believe me,
stuff directly to you.
It doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it is a lot of time.
That was really.
Amazing, really.
All right, so the next question was, and this is where we really have to, make a decision tonight. Normally, this increase in the dues has to be voted on in person at the meeting in November. That's in the bylaws. The attorney reviewed it and said that if we were going to, propose a different way to do that outside of the bylaws, that, we would have to obviously let them know, and then there would have to be an action by the board, saying that, and we're only doing it for this time, only because of COVID and not yada, yada. So what we need to determine tonight is how we're going to conduct the vote for the dues increase.
You had talked about doing it digitally, but again, we have an issue. What we can do is we talked about this before, there are websites for conducting the voting, and that can be posted on, again, not only it can be in the mailer, it can be also posted on Barb's Facebook page, this Facebook page, and that way we'll hit everybody and they can vote that way.
We researched that.
Yeah.
In order to get the ones that tie into our database that we have for the residents, to check to make sure that they're actually who they say they are, there's a cost, so it's not free. I think at this point we might want to go low-tech again.
Now?
We'll do another mailer, I would do a separate mailer just for the budget, and have a mail, we'll include both the $500 and the $600 budget so that people can see what's gonna happen if you don't go for the $600. And then either they can drop it off the night of the meeting, of their annual meeting, which is in November, or they can mail it in, and then they can be over there. Because, then if we get it out soon enough, they'll be able to, like Tracy did, you'll have questions on the budget and why certain things are a certain way. I'll work with Ed to get really good explanations on the line items so that people know what exactly we're doing and why we're doing it. But I kind of think that would be the best way to do it. And then, like I said, so we'll have the ability that night, because maybe, we'll open up the drop-in like at 5 o'clock or something, and then close it at 7:30 so that the ballots can be counted to see if it's going to pass or not. Because then also you've got the election going on at the same time. And again, all these votes really are only for members of good standing. I am so sorry, I have a sewer leak somewhere. Not in my house, because we don't have sewer. So, but you know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure that whoever's voting can vote, is eligible to vote.
The other ones don't have the list, right?
Yes, and we'll have a list, and we'll have a list if anybody's delinquent, because they obviously don't get a vote, because it's detailed in our documents.
Did you say something about you have to vote on the budget and the increase?
No, we have to, yeah, we have to vote on the, which is, it's kind of stupid the way they set it up. The original intent to change this, why they changed it the way it is they did not want the board to have the power to increase the dues without the membership voting on it. And that was the original intent to change this. So, because it wasn't that way before. The board was able to vote on an increase. And that's the way most boards are, right? Most boards, the board looks at the budget, the board knows what the numbers are, the board votes for whatever the budget and the dues are going to be. So because this one we have to vote on the dues increase. We're not voting on the budget first, we're voting on the dues increase, or if there's an increase, and then we have to vote on the budget. So technically, if $600 goes through, then you vote on that $600 budget, which technically they voted for already. If the $600 doesn't go through, people have to vote on the $500 budget, that new $500 budget. If that doesn't go through, then we have to revert back to the 2019, because that's the last one that passed.
Yeah, I feel like you vote for the $600 budget and the $500 budget, that's like,
No, we're not voting for the $500. We're voting for the $600 with $100 increase.
just an increase.
Just an
Right.
increase.
So
And then
that,
you vote-
so
and
that
then you
goes
vote for the
through.
budget.
If that goes through, then technically that budget was approved.
Well, I mean, isn't that like inherent that if you vote for a dues increase, that's our new budget?
Right, and that's your new budget. If you don't vote for that increase, then you have to vote for the new $500 budget. If that budget doesn't pass, we revert back to 2019.
Which is stupid because it's also $500.
It's also,
So it's worthless to even, in my humble opinion, it's even worthless to offer the $500 budget because
Doesn't make any sense.
it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't
but
understand.
that's
I
the way,
agree.
but that's the way it's been set up, and it's in the bylaws.
Which is getting changed.
And one of the things that we desperately need to do is change the bylaws. The bylaws are antiquated, they're just out of whack with the way things are done today.
September 24th, 1959.
When did that change? Because when the dam broke and the dues went up drastically,
That was a
I never
different-
remember
that was a
voting on
different-
that.
That was a
Yeah,
different,
we did.
No,
different
we voted in
situation.
person. We came here and voted in person.
Actually, the bylaws
I've been
call
here
out,
15 years,
hold
I
on.
don't remember.
The bylaws actually were never amended for the new dues increase, so technically our dues are not legal.
They're $150.
Correct. By the bylaws, the
Oh,
bylaws
same
are
way.
already updated, and they were not.
So anyway, so we need to make a decision tonight on how this is going to be conducted.
The question I wanted to ask, if I could, the lawyer can do this underneath the unenforced law, right?
yeah.
Okay. Because I know we never called out Robert's rules, so I can't actually do anything to suspend
Right.
any of this.
No.
But that's also to make sure that elections are still called out too. So as long
Well,
as
when
they're
the
not.
elections were addressed a couple of years ago in the new law of the Radburn that was passed in Jersey, because they kind of threw everybody's
As
antiquated
long as we're good
elections
with
out.
that, I just wanted to make sure.
So, yeah, the Radburn law, like I said, was passed like 4 or 5 years ago in Jersey. So that's where it really allowed for the mail voting. So we're allowed to do that by law in Jersey, because Jersey supersedes our bylaws. The problem right now is there's nothing for the budget in the state. So because we can't do this,
Correct.
I mean, by state mandate, we can't do this. Then we can pick out this hybrid and then have the attorney write his magic and.
As long as he can hit underneath that Article 10, I'm good. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that that was
Yeah.
where that was at, because
Yeah.
I agonized over the bylaws.
Yeah,
and how
because,
it's
I mean,
happening.
and the bylaws, and they have the legalese in there that if any of them's not enforceable, doesn't mean the whole thing's not enforceable. that
Correct.
type of thing.
It's just the remaining shall be given.
Yeah.
How are we gonna vote on the budget? Just help me.
So the vote on the budget, when you go through it again, the vote on the budget, we'll do a separate mailer for the budget. We'll put the 2 budgets in there. We'll put the vote for it. We'll let people return it by mail. And then, or they can drop it off that night in the meeting, and then it'll be opened up in the meeting, and then we'll just determine whether it passed or not.
We'll also vote at the meeting, right?
You can vote for the 15 people that are allowed to come here, yes, they can vote at the meeting.
Or what about the people that are on YouTube or whatever?
No,
They
they
have to
can
vote
drop
by
off their
mail.
ballot here.
So it's mail and in person?
Mail, in-person drop off, or if you're one of the people that are here, then you vote.
Can we put the election with the budget so that
Yes.
we're saving money
can do that.
Well, it's,
It'll be kind of confusing,
I think it would be better in my.
because you're gonna need it in separate envelopes.
well, you got 2 envelopes. Okay, now think about this. Now we got 2 envelopes. We got
We're trying
the
to.
ballot, we got the cover letter of what's going to happen with the election. We got the 2 budgets that are 2 page each, so they'll be front and back. We got an explanation of how that's going to be handled. So probably that mail, if we do it that way, will be over 50 cents anyway, so it's going to be almost $1. So we might as well just do 2.
Yeah, once you get into that thicker package, then
It costs more money.
postage.
Yeah, but now we're having another whole 50 cents.
Right, so it would have been a 50
But
cents.
she's saying it's an additional 50 cents with a thicker envelope anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just.
So it'll all be in one big thing envelope, is what you're saying.
One big thick envelope is $1 to ship instead of 2 separate
and actually,
envelopes.
it's like $1.23 or
Right.
something.
That's what I'm saying, put the election in there, and then that way it's all.
No, that's what she's saying, is it's actually more expensive to
It's
do
going to be more
it that way.
expensive to do it that way.
Because it's a thicker envelope, so it has to do the special postage.
Right.
Do we have to put return envelopes in there, truly? Doesn't everybody have an envelope?
Yeah, I say save the envelope money and everyone can use their own envelope,
Yeah.
their own stamp.
Really?
That's,
That's
everybody's
what I
got,
said.
everybody's got envelopes in
But
there.
it also
They
works
don't,
out
they
really
borrow one from their neighbors.
And that's gonna make it heavier, so. that's
Right,
gonna cost more.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Instead,
Again-
put in a piece of paper with the election ballot on it, and you're saving money.
This might sound silly, but isn't there any way that we could send out like one mailer to say, look, we need to vote on the budget. If you're interested in voting on the budget, we're gonna have a meeting. If they choose not to watch it or they choose not to show up, then that's on
Well, how are
them.
they going to vote then?
But then the problem is this. Because of the restrictions for COVID, we can only allow 15 people in.
I understand that.
So that means,
Cameras.
but that means 15 people get to vote on the budget.
Well, actually,
No, I'm saying people still can come and vote.
Why can't they vote via email? Like we say, okay, so this is the presentation, budget, blah, blah, time to vote. 15 people vote, and you email your votes into somebody, whoever wants to be the keeper of it. Why can't that count as a vote?
Or they could simply drop them off here.
Yeah, they can drop them off.
Right.
everybody drives
Listen,
by.
I'll sit outside for a couple hours.
Right.
If somebody wants to
Me
come and fill out a piece of paper, why even send
And
it in
I'll
the
do the
mail?
same, I'll do the same.
Why even send it in the mail? Like, if we could explain it to people via the camera or whatever, and then we set up the day, we can split the time, we don't have to send out any mailers, they could just come in, vote, I'll sit and say, look,
Well, you got to send out a mailer for the election. That's got
You gotta send out a
That
ballot
has
for the
to
election.
That's by the.
Bylaws.
Yeah.
all right,
That's
well,
gotta
at
go.
least all that budget paperwork or whatever that would need to be sent out.
Well, he's gonna post the budgets on the Facebook page, right?
Send me the budget, but,
Huh?
send me the budget, I'll post it.
No, the proposed budgets.
The two proposed budgets.
Yes.
Okay, just send me.
You have,
email
you have copies of it.
right now? All right,
They're right in here.
sorry.
Hello, Dave.
Can I do one request of posting things? Can you please, dear God, post them as PDFs?
I do usually try to do that.
I know how to do it, I will happy to help you.
No, I've done that.
Is there a reason why we post everything as a picture?
Well, I scan it, just, that's all. No reason.
So if we save as, like, we put everything in one document rather than, having multiple documents, so like the
Yeah, but see,
budget,
when he
the
posts,
$600 increase would be one document, I would open it up and they would nicely.
Yeah, but when he
Is it the
posts it on
website,
the,
is it Excel?
when he posts it on the
You can save
Facebook
it as a
page.
PDF so no one can alter it.
It doesn't.
No, you can't do it.
it.
It doesn't allow you to do that. You can only post that. You can't do what you want to
And
do.
unfortunately.
You can do it in an email, but you can't do it in a thing. Listen, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I do basketball. We use a thing called the Arbiter, which is a nationwide system. Do you know that we could not put an attachment? So if my organization wanted to send me something through there, they couldn't do it because it's the way the system was designed. It's basically the same thing. I would love to put an attachment there so you could go on and download whatever you needed, and then you could print it out. But Facebook won't allow you to do that.
And it's, yeah, I've actually posted Excel and Word stuff, and people don't have Excel and Word. You know, some people don't have
So
it, I
you
do.
can post that, but you can't post a PDF?
I can post a PDF, and I have.
That's also
Yes.
for PDF.
Yeah,
I say, you need to make sure that then you can't necessarily easily read on your phone, kind of, nobody will look at it. Facebook won't let you post a PDF and then see a preview image on that. You will not get a preview.
so, yeah, there are restrictions, unfortunately. So, it's not the perfect.
No, but it's, at least we're getting the information out. Hopefully, when we get a website, it'll be a totally different situation where we can post all that stuff on
We
there.
have it on the website already.
Oh, it is?
Is this both?
I haven't been on it in a while.
Yeah, I know.
The minutes from these past meetings are up there, because I didn't see them.
Yes.
I don't post them until.
Yeah. On the Facebook page, yeah.
But not on the website.
No,
I don't.
No, she
yeah,
won't
on the
post.
website.
What-
not to adopt it.
She won't post tonight.
All right, so what are we doing?
But
Okay.
not on the
Let's
website.
get back.
Let's get back to
No,
where we're at.
What about like a Dropbox for people just to put their votes in, that way we don't have to worry about an extra envelope? And, I mean, either they can mail it back or drop it in the box, whether it's
Let
like
me
cabin.
explain something. The envelopes are already printed, they have my PO box on them, so we're not gonna use them for anything else, so we're gonna use them. They're there, they're paid for.
Yeah, they're already paid for.
Yeah, but the big waste stuff.
You're never gonna use them again.
Yeah, but that's okay, because we're never gonna pay for it in money in the extra.
Well, you can do it this way.
So what about,
We can either have it, we can do a Dropbox or you can mail them in. If you want to mail them in, then you'll have to put a stamp on it.
Right, yeah.
How
I
about that?
agree, 100%.
We can
Okay.
set up a
100%.
for the.
And I'll make a Dropbox. We'll get a Dropbox.
Screw it.
I'll even do it on a Saturday.
We'll change
I'll
it.
sit somewhere on a Saturday. So
Well,
we'll do
you
two
know what?
jobs.
We'll tell them that they have to drop them off. The meetings are, what? When's the next meeting?
19th?
what goes back?
I don't, is it going to be someplace that's not going to be amended?
We'll tell them, we'll give them a time and I'll sit out here if I have to.
I
It'll-
need-
it'll go up.
I'll volunteer, I don't mind. Or we could do a Dropbox. And I have one other question about the board voting. Who counts those votes?
It will be,
Who counts the votes?
the people who count them will not be
Up for
people who
election.
are up for election.
Let me explain how it goes. We go through to pull out the ones that aren't valid, that owe money or whatever. And then it's handed to two election volunteers, then the residents that obviously aren't on the ballot. And they count. So all we do is we go verify them. They get open that night, we look at it, we verify it. It would be amazing. People put checks in there and everything. We go through it that night. Like I said, anybody that owes money, we put that to the side, they don't get counted. And the other ones get counted by residents.
Do that, even if we had a Dropbox, then you wouldn't even have to worry about that, because people could just put it right in the Dropbox. Then people won't even worry about mailing you a check and all that other stuff, because they can just drop it right in the
Yeah,
box.
and they still have to be checked to make sure that they're.
Right, well, those two electing committee members, and I'll volunteer to count them, I'm not running for the board, or whoever wants to do it.
I'm not up for election, I'll volunteer time.
We'll put together, the more people here to do it, it
Right,
makes the
but faster,
process go
yeah,
faster.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? I would strongly recommend we get two residents.
Right,
Given
non-board members.
given that, like, drama, I think.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
It's like two,
Vote
two,
isn't by anybody.
checks and balances,
Two
I agree.
Right,
Not you, not him.
right, not
Two
board
volunteers.
members. It
Yes.
should be board
Wait a minute,
members
excuse me.
counting down.
Why can't I do it?
Why?
It should be board
You're on the board.
members.
And you might like her and
I
not
don't
her.
care who.
So two volunteers from the community.
Should be
The
two.
board has nothing to do with it.
No, we do, actually.
Yes, we do.
It should be checks and balances,
That's what we
absolutely. There should be maybe two board members, two volunteers for checks and balances,
Go ahead,
absolutely.
do your vote.
And you can contest it. That's
Yeah.
good.
Who are the candidates up?
Who are up?
We're up.
Who's running? Who's running? Who's running?
No, so, you know, not liked by a couple on the board already, so it's just a pissing match. So vote however you want.
The way we
Make
did it.
your point again.
The way we did it last time, so that it was honest and legal and everybody, nobody got their feelings hurt, We sat downstairs, I was there, going through the names. 2 residents that weren't involved in the election were sitting there with me, we're all sitting at a round table. They watched me open the envelopes, so there was nobody putting them in the trash.
You just said earlier, you open the envelopes, then you bring them.
No, I did not.
You
No,
said
you're
that,
not
you open
listening.
the envelopes,
You're
then you
not
bring them to see if there's any money
The
in them.
envelopes.
That's what you said.
No, I did not. The envelopes, that's why I'm trying to explain to you how the process goes.
You did say it
We
takes.
sat there, we sit there, we open the envelopes, we take them out, we look at it, but the people can't see if you're delinquent or not, because that's only the board. So we see if who's delinquent, and then we take that over there, and then they count them. I had nothing to do with counting, I had really for me.
So when you were saying you take them over to them, then they're
No,
still
we're all
in the
sitting
room.
at the table.
Yeah, I think that
We
was
sit
part
at
of
the
the
same
mess.
table.
Yeah, who's sitting at
Nobody's
the-
going to a
who's
trash
sitting at
can,
the table
nobody's
last
going.
time?
The 2 volunteers that we had, 2 resident volunteers who offered to count them, they had no, they were just, that's all they did is count them. They double checked each other's count. Like I said, I went through, pulled out the delinquent ones, and that's how the election was run. Now, I think it's a great idea. Have the drop box. I don't want anything back in my P.O. box. Nothing. I want it all here so that nobody can accuse me of throwing this election, because I don't really care who's on the board. Even though I still own a house here, I am sure whoever's on the board will do a great job for the community and worry about the community. That's all I'm worried about at this point going forward. So, like I said, do it this way. If you're questioning whether I'm honest enough to make sure it's an
That's
honest
not good,
election,
Rebecca.
oh yes it is.
We don't need
So
that.
this, so this way, it'll be here, the lockbox will be here, Tom will make sure it's here, nobody else will touch it.
I think, well, I'm nominating Stephen to be a head of the election committee.
There you go.
I accept
Steve.
it with gratitude.
Steven?
No, we might be talking.
I'd be happy to help.
You and me are gonna do it?
I got that, absolutely.
Okay, you have a volunteer. I can't do it, I'm on the board.
Yes, you
You
can.
can do what he likes you.
You've been nominated and you accepted the position.
I
You're
think
in,
that-
Not really knowing what
and there's
the
your
position is,
first,
but I
there's your first resident right there.
And the residents of the counters, the board is there.
I'll be
not
the
to be a
second board
counter,
member. I
but
still
just-
think it should be 2 board members and 2 members of the public.
Because the small point I'm gonna make
Yeah.
is whoever sits at the table should not be the ones that sat there previously, it should be new people.
Correct.
New people and volunteers and whatever.
Or
So
can
Tom will let me know when the box is here,
Yes.
so I can put that.
You're gonna build that
We're
box?
also gonna do the mail.
Oh, yeah.
They can also mail it in.
If you padlock, I'll bring you a padlock.
They can also mail it in if they want to see it.
No,
The volunteers
If
get
they
the
want to put a
padlock.
stamp on it, they can mail it in.
no.
Well,
Should we do it on Tuesdays?
I
Should we
think-
do one opportunity, like on
I think-
Saturday and a Monday?
I think,
I say it's one day.
I think the day of the election, we should have the box out there. It'll be here from 12 noon until 7 p.m. That gives people plenty of
Plenty
time.
of time.
If you want to vote, it gives you plenty of time to drop it in there.
And
Yeah.
that's for the budget too, right?
Yes, budget and everything.
And then at 7 o'clock, you and I, and whoever else
Yes.
comes in there, will go through, God forbid there's anything else in
And-
there
and
besides the
once-
election thing.
Once I lock it up, I'll make sure that Steven gets the key so that I don't have a key.
Right.
My friend Josie just volunteered to be with you getting the books. That's fine.
Okay, we're good.
She's watching on YouTube.
Why does it have to be at the last minute? Why
Yeah,
can't it be
I'll-
early voting when we do that?
It's, you know,
Which
it's
is gonna
pretty
be,
simple.
I don't want it in my PO box, so that's it.
You go in the box.
No, because Tom's monitoring the
Yes,
box. It's only gonna be here the one day.
It's only gonna be here one day.
Just one day.
Saturday.
For a couple hours.
Saturday?
No, it'll be Monday.
Monday.
Monday from noon to 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I
So
think
not
that's,
election day, Monday.
the Monday
Election
is,
day is Tuesday.
no,
No,
Monday.
the Monday of the election.
Monday of the election.
Which will be the 19th of the meeting.
Or-
When's the next
Our
meeting?
election, not this, not the, not,
So,
Not this election.
not,
I said election day.
That'd be really
Like, okay.
Please.
Okay.
I'd have the governor out here complaining because we're not allowed to vote.
I would volunteer for November 16th.
All right, so that's the day that we'll have it out.
Yes,
Noon until
November
7.
16th. All
And
right.
I'll run a shift, you need a shift, Tracy, I'll run a
I'm running for election, so I don't think it's
Because we
right
can't
if I
have the box out
volunteer
there.
for election. You should not.
So we're gonna drop off the ballots and the vote for the budget.
Are you gonna put something together, or email it to me and I'll post on the Facebook page?
Yep.
All right, or should we let Twinkle Finger do it?
Phil's gonna get me the information, send it in.
I guess.
That's all right.
If
So
somebody
who
wants
are
to-
the people running for election?
What's that?
Can you tell us who the people are running for election?
I am
Who are running?
Ed,
Bill.
You,
Ed,
Ed,
Ed, you're back on?
Bill,
Ed's going back on, we need Ed.
Bill, and then there's a couple other people that aren't here.
And how many board members are there total?
9.
Nine.
There's five.
But if we don't like the results, we're gonna pack the court.
Yeah, we're gonna pack the court. So, are we done with that business? Okay. Okay, question? Shoot.
November, you said the vote's gonna be November 16th, is that the date you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm sure when it goes out with the ballot, it'll be on there, the 16th, the date.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, new business?
So the board will vote in person that day?
You can vote in person or drop it in the box. If you do drop it in the box, you have to tell us so you don't get 2 votes. All right?
Well, you'll see that.
Listen, dead people can't vote here.
The 16th of November.
Okay,
You're gonna get arrested.
so just as a question, can we accept votes previous to
Yes.
the execution, or to the
No.
meeting?
No.
Because the meeting, in the bylaws, it must, 2 meetings have to have occurred, and people will call us out on it. So 2 meetings have to have occurred with the budget available before we can call a vote. So therefore, the election can't be, the vote for the budget cannot occur until after the evening of the 16th.
No,
That's next
it
meeting.
can, because you can have the
It
vote
doesn't have
for
to
the
have a
budget
budget.
like 8 o'clock.
Correct, so that as long as the budget
Right.
vote is not until after the
Right.
next meeting.
No, it could be 8 o'clock that night.
8 o'clock that night.
How is that?
But if people are dropping it off at noon, if it's noon to 7, people are dropping their votes off.
Right.
Then we'll
That's
keep
before the
the,
meeting.
we can keep the box out there at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, but then
I don't-
Why don't you have 2 boxes, one for the ballot and one for the budget?
The only reason why I'm asking is because the bylaws do state that we can't call for a vote on the budget until 2 meetings have passed and it's been available.
And that's the problem we had last year.
Last year,
The
the
problem
November meeting,
the problem we had last year was that it wasn't posted.
That was one of them
For
too.
2
Right,
meetings.
that's
But it still has to be
So
the
this
two
should,
meetings,
this
though.
should,
Right, it has to be 2 meetings.
is the budget
Right.
available?
And this is meeting one, right? This is-
Right.
Right here.
It's
That was the
meeting
one,
one.
so I've been thinking about that.
Right, so it's gonna be meeting 1.
So this is the first,
So we
and
need to go back to,
then,
So
That's what I was
in
doing.
November is
Which
meeting
is
2.
after people have already started.
No, it's 1996.
That's, it's just, it's a
No,
slight.
Meeting
Yeah,
one,
it's-
meeting
It
two.
says it's voted on.
It's just meeting.
yeah, that's
It's
correct.
I know, so it's gotta be voted on, that's a pass.
Right.
Correct, but.
Um,
But because of, yeah, but
It
because
doesn't
of,
matter.
because of
I have
COVID,
them
They were approved.
we can't,
Yeah, I know,
everybody
some were
can't vote here.
so,
Yeah,
I
because
some
of
were
this
suggested,
stuff.
some were
So
not
what we can
approved,
do
some
is,
were
we can't have
allowed
everybody
from
here
the
at the same
county,
time,
just,
because they're not allowed to be
It's
together
sad.
at the same time. So in order to meet the letter of the law from the state of New Jersey,
delay.
we have to change this. So it says the proposed change we voted on at the second meeting by majority vote of all members present. Obviously, we can't do that unless 25 people are going to vote for it. So we're going to change that, amend it, saying that here we're presenting it again. It was presented tonight, it's getting presented again by mail, right? So that's the second time we're presenting it. And then your vote will be counted at that second meeting.
Okay, as long as it carries that way, if the lawyer says that's good, I just wanna make sure, because then
Well,
otherwise
it's-
people might claim they didn't have a chance to hear it if they couldn't make it to this meeting or
Right.
review this meeting, that's why that second meeting is there.
I agree, but this is,
But it's complicated.
I understand.
this is uncertain times where
Correct.
we
Right.
can't.
That's why I wasn't sure if that
Okay.
vote could be that Tuesday, not that Monday,
No.
right? Because then that's at the conclusion of that meeting, that's an extension of the meeting to allow for the voting.
No, it's
No.
Yeah,
That would be simple, wouldn't it?
It would be,
Yeah.
that would be a lot easier to read, is my opinion, but.
That's a better idea.
Could we put the box out on Tuesday night? So
I don't know.
Monday was voting,
No.
Tuesday night, we would put it out for just the,
Because
budget.
Because the idea of the second meeting is, someone who couldn't make it tonight or couldn't raise a concern by tonight has that second opportunity, which could sway people's opinions based on how it's responded to. That's what that second meeting is for.
Right, so if you voted the following night,
It just says it's up for vote. So So now we have it, again, we're kind of over, we're doing more than they say
We
we
don't
should.
have a first reading and a second reading if we do it this way, though, unless we do it the
Right.
day.
If you do the rest of
And that's what my
It's
concern
the
is.
same kind of problem. I don't think COVID's gonna be an excuse if we get caught.
Yeah.
Since we're aware of it, let's not get caught.
Right. We're choosing to be stringent on that requirement, but not half of the rest of the bylaws that we're ignoring.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, that's where I'm kind of concerned about that, is why are we being, like, saying, no,
So
it has to
then
be
the
a vote,
vote
or...
or Tuesday.
Right.
Right, that would be all.
Well, this,
Well,
well,
then vote on it in December,
well, actually, we
because we're
could,
meeting in December.
we could do that in December.
Put it on the ballot for December.
Yeah, but then we'd have to have the election has to be done.
No, the election's gotta be done in November.
For the
So
candidates,
November's the
correct.
annual meeting.
Correct.
It would be less confusing for the residents, quite frankly, because then they wouldn't, I mean, because it's gonna be a little hairy with the whole budget thing, and 9 candidates to review.
It's the perception of impropriety, right? We don't want people to think that we're trying to slide them under by not doing it until
It
after.
really makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
anyway,
to
that's
put
what
the
happens.
vote to,
Ed, does it matter if we have it in
do the
November?
candidates in November. I mean,
The budget vote?
Yeah. And you
As
will
far as I
all
know,
that.
it's not gonna look any
Yeah,
better.
I'm not trying to stick it about it, I just I think it's
No,
just
no,
makes sense.
Historically.
Russ
That's one of the
and
budget
Anne Marie
meetings.
knows the bylaws.
I just think the problem we've had The problem I'm gonna have with that is,
She was there in November.
the problem is that the December meeting is 4 days before Christmas.
Right, and we're not gonna be here.
Can we push it
Can't
up a
we
week?
push it? Yeah.
Can we push it up a week? Why does it have
Yeah, it
to be
doesn't have to be that one.
that
week.
date in December?
December 10th, December
I
15th,
mean,
something
no
like that.
offense, who wants to come 4 days before Christmas? Can't we go the week before?
I agree.
Yeah, that's not
Well, that's when it's scheduled for, so we can change the date anytime. We can change the date.
Let's change the date.
What is it, the 21st?
Huh?
Can we check with the other management company, or they're available, because we're not available.
I don't know. I'll check the date.
Right.
She said she could be here in December.
The election is until the December meeting anyway, so by the bylaws, the election is the next board.
Date.
Yep, I have it highlighted. Which by majority vote, the election shall be conducted by majority vote of members present at the December meeting.
You're good.
So it wasn't November anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Are those
November is
the
a
original
business
ones?
meeting for budget.
That's the original ones, right? Not
Yes,
the ones
ma'am,
that are-
January 1996.
And when do we do the office?
Officers is when a new board is seated.
Not until January.
Correct. So you get the new, you vote for the new board, and then the board then votes for officers.
So then we're gonna have to set a date then, if you wanna push it back in December,
What's it set for now?
the 21st of December.
About a week before.
Yeah. I think you should do,
That would be my birthday.
I think,
Happy
We'll have a
birthday.
cake and a week before.
okay, this is your, I think,
Listen, you know what, you guys are playing loose with these bylaws anyway, so why don't you just figure out what you want? If you want to keep the election in November, do the election in November and a budget vote in December.
I think separating it might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it might be an excellent idea.
I think
Because
it'll
it's too
give
much,
residents time.
it's too much information for people to digest. So, we could, so the next meeting is this November the 16th, correct? Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we make the budget meeting November the 23rd?
The what, I'm sorry?
November the 23rd, which would be the following Monday.
Isn't that Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that's Thanksgiving.
Wait, what did you say?
So,
November 23rd would be.
That's Thanksgiving.
That's Thanksgiving week.
Some people might be.
Isn't that what we're, wait, we're supposed to.
so the 16th is the regular meeting.
Right.
So this way, we could do our budget presentation at that meeting,
Right.
and then the following week, we could tell them their vote has to be in by the 23rd.
Yeah.
The mail-in ballot
So
will
it's
be
not a
outside.
separate meeting, that's when the votes are.
Right, the
Correct.
meeting, so we'll do that, and then the only people that'll be here will be the people that count the vote for the budget. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
So 16th is still the
The
meeting.
16th is still the meeting, the 23rd will be the date that the ballots, the budget ballots have to be in. Does that
Like
work?
from 12 to 7 or whatever, we'll leave the box.
Right,
open.
correct. All right, does that work? I think that works a lot better
Yeah.
So
than,
ballots include using.
And holds the law on it.
Exactly, yep, that's exactly what I was just looking for.
This
to
way-
make sure we were covered.
this way, everything can go out in one envelope,
Yep,
and we can
We're still doing the election.
still do the election on the 23rd,
No, the election is
the 16th, and then the budget will be done on the 23rd.
Okay.
I think that works a lot better.
Say that again, election on the 16th?
The election will be on the 16th for officers. The budget you'll vote on the 20th, you'll have up until the 23rd
November.
November to put your ballots in the box outside.
Gives them a week, they have 1 week to review the budget
That's right.
before they have to actually drop.
And I think
off
that's better because if you wait until next month, people, and with the holiday and everything, they're gonna forget about it. So this way, it's 1 week after it, I think that works a lot better.
And so if people email in questions, they go to Jackie for the budget, so then that gives them an opportunity to get their questions answered.
Correct.
she forwards them on up, the questions onto us and
Yes.
get a chance to
Yep.
review.
We'll answer.
Is that how that goes? That's the escalation?
That's
the questions go to you
correct.
guys?
Yeah.
So, Vic, I just have a quick question about the voting on the 16th. So we're gonna say that's from 12 to 7
That's just
for
for,
the candidates.
correct.
But then when are we gonna count them if the meeting's at 7?
Well, there'll be somebody downstairs counting.
All right, well then I guess I'll miss the meeting then.
Well, yes, can't have.
Even if 2 board members are gonna miss the meeting then too. Can we have the ballots in by 6 or something?
Well, you can do whatever you want. You wanna go, we want them in by 6, I'll have them in by 6.
I don't really, if
I
I
think-
miss the meeting, it's not gonna be a big deal, but do you wanna have 2 of your board members miss the meeting?
Then we'll make it from 12 to 6.
I'm just throwing it out.
I agree, because you're right, there'll be 2 board meetings, two
Right.
board members miss.
You're not gonna twist my arm, I'll miss the meeting.
And
I'd rather hang out.
there's no alcohol allowed down there either.
Oh, yeah. I can bring beer.
As far as you know.
Yeah, right?
But that's what we'll do, 12 to 6, all right?
And tell me again what that vote is.
That vote is for the candidates.
That's the 16th
The new
is
board
for
of
the
trustees.
candidates, the
For the candidates.
23rd is for
For
the
the-
budget.
for
Well, if that's the case, then no board member should be involved. Is that-
We talked about this.
Yes.
You guys are gonna,
Yes, there has to be an oversight, and a board member, and you are in charge of that. You're the oversight person to make sure that it's done
And
legally.
I'm not up for reelection, so I guess that's okay. I guess-
You are correct.
Okay.
All right.
But they're doing the counting, you're just there watching.
I'm being mute.
Right.
You're like
So
a poll-
because
you're like a poll-
you cannot have an impact on the outcome.
You're a poll sitter,
Okay.
Yep.
and you don't get paid for it.
Right.
All right, I just have one thing to say. Everybody knows that Jackie's leaving, and Jackie is leaving on November the 10th. And me as a board member, I'd like to thank Jackie for really helping out this community, because when she took it over, it was a mess, a total mess. And I can attest to that because when I was living here, I paid my dues. I tell this to everybody, and 6 months after I paid my dues, I got a call from the treasurer and saying, "Oh, can I deposit your check now?" He had my check for 6 months, it was stuck somewhere. So she literally took something that was, the wheels were falling off the wagon and put the wheels back on it. I mean, without her, we wouldn't have a clubhouse and things like this, because she collected all that money. And sometimes you have to be a pit bull to collect money from people. And I think she did a really good job, and that's my personal opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board has to say there, but I just want to thank Jackie for doing a good job. I wish you and your husband great health down in Florida. Just give me your address so I have some place to hang out at.
Oh, you know, people want you down there.
Do I take you up to the Marlton Lakes Facebook page when you leave?
She's still a
I
resident.
still have the house
She doesn't want to see.
If there's no more questions,
They're going like hotcakes in here.
I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So,
To adjourn.
Thank you for coming.